She cursed my family to die, and she cursed my fighting career, that I would be dead in the cage. I was really disgusted because at that point I knew that demons are real, and that I'd actually invited one into my house. You can't spell Pride Month without demon. Well, somebody that has fooled everybody, but he simply cannot fool me. Elon Musk. He's actually a step further than just a con artist. He's evil embodied. He could possibly be the false prophet. The earth is stationary. It's covered by a dome. You got to know that NASA is evil. At a T, it can spell the word Satan. You got to know why they're lying. That's more important. We are coming close to the second coming of Jesus. We are getting very close. They're never going to take my steak. They can take my life, but they will not take my steak. And I promise you that I love steak. You know, the one explanation that will lead to freedom more than anything else: starting a farm, controlling your own food.
Bryce the Nasty
Bryce Mitchell, entertaining, funny, strong opinions, didn't hold back. By the end of the episode, you may actually become a flat earther. You may actually sit there and say, listen, I can't tell anybody this, but this guy's got me convinced that the earth may be flat. Every argument was so entertaining, interesting, deep. His response was fast, quick, didn't hold back. Strong opinions about Elon Musk. We talked about what he did in his backyard with a chicken. He took this UFC. You just have to see what happened with him. And then I asked him, I said, so, you know, this whole relationship with God, is it a recent thing? And he said, yes, it's a recent few years, on how a possessed ex, demon-possessed ex, you got to hear that story. Super, super entertaining. All I'm going to say is, if you've seen this guy fight, at the end of the interviews, he always gives very, very good, passionate, opinions on different things. Today, you're going to see a different side of Bryce Mitchell, but you will definitely be valuetained by the one and only Bryce Mitchell.
30 seconds. Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close, I could take sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got betdavid? Valuetainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to hate it. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
Okay, so today we have with us a patriot, a man of faith, a man who met his wife, I believe, when he was on the Tucker Carlson show, and ended up naming his son Tucker because he met his wife when she watched him on there. What a great story there, right? And then a recent interview I saw of yours, Bryce, which was fantastic. You're talking about being homeschooled and why you want to homeschool. And you said you wanted to homeschool your son because you did not want him to be a communist, to worship Satan, or to be gay, right? And by the way, these types of comments, flat earth, all these things go. Some of it, you're very, very entertaining. You have a lot of great ideas. I've seen you do a post-fight, interviews where you're calling out Ukraine, and you said, if you come to Arkansas, I'll show that clip here in a minute for the audience to see. You're fun to watch when you fight. You're fun to watch when you're being interviewed. You're like the complete package for somebody that, you not just in life, but also in the fighting scene, because you need somebody that's entertaining. But it's great to finally have you on the podcast here.
Well, it's great to be here, brother. And I know that I'm brought here today by the Holy Spirit guiding both of us, connecting us. And, if I wouldn't have turned my life to Christ, then there's no way I'm sitting in this chair. And like you mentioned earlier, there's no way I have a wife. There's no way I have a kid. My life has been changed so much since I accepted Jesus. So I just want to tell the audience and you, first off, thank you for having me here. And this is such a tremendous opportunity for somebody like me, but I don't want to waste it talking about myself a whole bunch, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have about me. But I come here to glorify Jesus Christ, and I want to talk about corrupted politicians. I want to talk about farming. I don't want to waste people's time and just talk about me the whole time. And I'm just happy to be here.
Well, it's fun, and I appreciate that. There's another fighter, Benil Dariush, right? I'm sure you know who he is. He's
Absolutely.
A Syrian.
Yeah.
And he one time after the fight gets up and he says, hey, Americans, don't fall for the socialist communist agenda. And he's just kind of giving that message like, wow, there is depth to this fighter where he has actually got certain core convictions. Rob, can you pull up the clip of Bryce when he is being asked about Ukraine? I think I text you the clip. I don't know if you have it or not. If you don't have the clip, I'll text it to you. This is the one, bro. Play this clip. I watched this clip and I'm like, Yeah, this guy doesn't just want to talk about fighting. He's got other things he wants. And by the way, no matter what they ask you, you always go to issues that matter. You just did it again today, right? You're like, I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about things that matter. Go ahead and play this clip, Rob. This is after a fight.
Well, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the whole Russia and Ukraine situation.
You know, here's my first thought is I'm not going nowhere to fight none of these wars for these politicians. I'm staying at home, and when the war comes to Arkansas, I will dig my boots in the ground, and I will die for everything I love, and I will not retreat. If this country's invaded and everybody's saying, well, we gotta evacuate, we gotta leave, I will not. I will dig my boots in the Arkansas soil, and I will fight for the people that I love, for the land that I love, and the way of life that I love. But I'm not going overseas to fight. I don't know what's going on, to be honest, brother. I really don't. There's so much stuff, and I don't think nobody knows what's going on fully. There's been so much political corruption in that area. You got Biden and his son making a shit ton of money off of and using our tax dollars to bribe their people. That's treasonous, in my opinion. So you got Hunter Biden and his son using our tax dollars. Hey, if Ukrainian government, if you don't do this, we're taking your tax dollars. He shouldn't be giving our tax dollars to that country anyway. We got veterans out here sleeping on the street, and you're going to give our freaking tax dollars to these Ukrainians and all that. Brother, I don't know what's going on over there, but I'm not going over there and fighting, and God bless anybody that's over there fighting, and I hope that the shit just gets solved. And, man, I don't like war. You know what I mean? I don't want people dying and all that stuff. I don't want to be, but I don't know what's going on. There's so much stuff that I think that's corrupted that we just don't know what's truly going on over there. And I pray all those people are safe.
Well, why are you so passionate about America and your faith? How did that happen?
Well, I came to Jesus Christ pretty instantaneously, and since then I've just had a passion for truth and knowledge, and I'm just not scared to say what I think. And a lot of people are more reserved, and I really like talking about stuff like that because I know that that's really the only thing that matters is the truth.
So how did you come to Jesus Christ? How did that happen? Typically, an event happens, you have a good experience or a bad experience, and then eventually you're like, okay, here's why I'm doing it. How did it happen for you? I
would love to share this experience with you. I think that you might be one of the people that believes me the most. I've heard your testimony. That's actually why I started watching your content, is because you shared your testimony. But I think that we're in the same category of we had supernatural testimonies. And your testimony is 100% supernatural. Your mom calls right after you pray to Jesus Christ. Yep. Supernatural. Yep. There's not a scientific explanation. You know it.
Biggest fear in my body when that happens. I'm like, somebody's actually listening.
You know it.
Yep.
I know it. I believe every word you said. And there's going to be people out there that don't believe it. I don't care. I'm going to tell you what happened to me. I don't care if you call me the brain damage MMA fighter. I am, but I can still tell you my testimony. Okay. I am a stupid hillbilly, but I can tell you what I seen. I seen a demon cast it out in the name of Jesus Christ, and nothing short of that. That is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I was going out with the chick for a little bit over a year. We break up and then get back together, break up, get back together, and she was just real wicked and real evil. But one day she was extremely evil. She come over, she started killing my tomato plants, and it was actually she was coming over to get her stuff, and she said, I wasn't even going to let her in. I had all of her stuff packed up as her clothes and just junk, you know, so I had it all bagged up, and I said, look, I'm going to hand you all your stuff over the gate, and you just sit in your car, I'm going to hand it to you. This was going to be our last encounter ever. So the demon kind of knew this. And before this experience, remember, I'm an atheist. I'm convinced we come from monkeys because the public education destroyed me. It led me in such an awful direction. I believe we come from monkeys. I believe there's no God, there's no demons, there's no nothing. You know, we just die and that's it. You know, this life is all about finding pleasure. You know, that's what I thought. So I said, okay, I'm going to hand you your stuff and you leave. She said, well, just let me come in and get my stuff. So I let her in the gate. You know, she talked me into it. And I said, okay, well, you can come pick up your stuff and load it in your carpet and you got to leave. Well, as soon as she gets in the gate, all hell broke loose. And I mean, quite literally, she just started killing my plants. She started 17 tomato plants. She just started boom, 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 just smashing them.
How old are you at this time?
Probably about 22.
Okay.
Maybe even older than that. I can't remember. I've been hit quite a few times, but it feels like yesterday. Okay, I remember it very clearly. And then and then I told her, just chill out. You need to just go away and just calm down, you know. And so she goes into the garage, and then I hear glass breaking, and I'm like, oh shit. what's going on in there. So I go into the garage and she's breaking glass, and I said, what are you doing? And then the first thing that was weird to me is she said, we didn't do anything. And I was thinking, wait a second, did I hear her just say we? Like she's referring to herself as we. And I thought that was weird, but I thought maybe I misheard her. And so then I'm just kind of like thinking about that, and I'm saying, look, you really need to leave. But then she starts speaking in tongues to a wall. And so then at that moment, because I grew up Southern Baptist, but I never actually had Christ in my heart. But my Mimi, my papa, my mom, everybody told me about Jesus Christ. Everybody told me about demons. I knew it from the time I was little to now. My mom and my Mimi, they made sure I knew that Jesus was real, but I never accepted Jesus. But when I seen her speaking in tongues, not even looking at me, just looking at a wall, that's when I knew, and I could actually feel the presence of a demon, and it felt like just so much fear hit me at once that I was just like, I was really disgusted, because at that point I knew that demons are real, and that I'd actually invited one into my house. And even though I was an atheist, I never wanted to tamper with any darkness, ever. Even though, like, when I was an atheist, I still wouldn't touch a Ouija board. Even though I said none of that crap is real, I still had this...
You've never played it?
Oh, hell no. I don't mess with Ouija boards, witchcraft books. I don't throw salt over my shoulders. I don't light candles up and do none of that funky stuff. I don't do that stuff, and always knew not to do that, even though I didn't believe in it. I knew, but right when I knew that that's a demon and that all this stuff is real, just a ton of fear hit me. And I remembered, of course, what did Mimi always say? What did Mom always say? And I said, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave. And this is after, now this whole argument has took place over the course of a little bit over an hour. And it was screaming and F you and get out of my house and get the F out and all that stuff. I'm making a fool of myself. I'm screaming, get out. She will not leave. And people think, oh, well, why didn't you call the law on her? Well, I told her, I said, look, I'm going to have to call the law on you if you don't leave. And she said, look, I'm going to stab myself. And when they get here, I'm going to tell them you did it.
What?
You're going to go to prison. You're going to lose every sponsor you had. The UFC's going to cut you.
Holy shit.
I'm going to take everything from you. She said, I will take everything from you. She said, you go ahead and call the law. Call them, because I'm going to stab myself. So I'm sitting here. I can't call the law. I don't know what to do at this point. And then she starts speaking in tongues. And I said, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command any evil to leave. And at that moment, I felt the Holy Spirit. I had the full authority of Jesus Christ, because I spoke the name of Jesus. Even though I'm this rotten sinner who's hated Jesus his whole life because I didn't know him, the second I turned to Jesus Christ, that demon was casted out, and she's gone.
So I'm looking at your first fight is 2015, January 24, 2015, Sheldon Smith. Okay, so when is this now? What is this 2016, 2017?
This is probably a couple months before the Edson Barbosa fight. And the reason that in that Barbosa fight, I remember this is because...
That's 2 years ago.
Okay, that's only 2 years ago.
Are you kidding? So this just happened 2 years ago?
Well, it might have been a little bit more than two.
Okay.
It feels like 3 or 4.
Got it. Okay.
It's Edson Barbosa's.
Okay.
But it's not very long ago.
All right.
And after that fight... on the way out, because that demon had manifested. I'm no longer talking to a person. I said, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave. She looks at me and she says, you will have 3 children. They will all die, and you will lose every fight for the rest of the year. So she cursed my family, and she cursed my fighting career right before she left. And I'm not talking like curse words like F you and this. I'm talking,
I get it.
She cursed. Yeah. She cursed my family to die, and she cursed my fighting career, that I would be dead in the cage. She cursed me. And I said, in the name of Jesus Christ, you'll do nothing. Because at that point, that second, I became a Christian, because I seen what that name of Jesus Christ, if you just simply speak the name of Jesus, it will cast out demons. And I'm not telling you because I think it. I'm telling you I know it because I've lived it. I've seen it. And people don't believe me because I'm a dumb hillbilly. But I'm telling you, this is what happened. It's a 100%. There's not any other percent chance that anything other than the name of Jesus got that woman out of my life. And from then on, that's why I care so much about Jesus Christ, because he saved my life. And now look, I have a wife and I have a kid. Do you think I would have a wife and kids and be sitting in this chair today if I didn't speak the name of Jesus Christ? There ain't a snowball chance in hell I would have been tortured by my own sinful nature. I wouldn't, but now I'm obedient to God. Now I have a wife. Now I have a kid. Look how much better it is when you submit to God and live by the word of God. Just look at my life. It's proof that God exists.
So let me, and by the way, thank you for sharing that. You know, sometimes you share your testimony is not an easy thing to do, and everybody's got a different story. So I appreciate you sharing that. When I watch you, you're such a proud patriot, right? You love America. You're protective of it. You're the kind of guy that if I'm in war, I need a bunk buddy. I would love to have somebody like you as a bunk buddy. What got you to be such a patriot loving America? Why is that?
I just think that this is one of the greatest countries that there's ever been. I can't think of anywhere else I'd rather go. And I mean that literally. I mean, if I had $1 bajillion, if I won the lottery today, I'd go right back to Arkansas. I wouldn't buy a yacht. I'd buy a pasture, and I'd get cows. And I mean, it's the best. You can't beat Arkansas. You can't beat United States of America. And this country that I love is being infested with demons. And, you know, I'm ready to fight for it. I'm ready to die for it. And I know that in the end that good's going to win. But we're in a battle right now, brother.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And I think it's a battle of many different elements to it. But you talked about you'd go back to Arkansas. Rob, can you pull up the clip of the chicken? Didn't you build in a UFC cage, right? Can you play this clip, Rob? This is wild. If you could play this clip, go ahead.
This is the MMA octagon that I've converted into a chicken coop and a pig pen. The pigs live underneath. We go show them around here where the pigs live. I took one of them shells from an 18-wheeler, fiberglass. And the pigs live up under there in that shell. And the chickens actually live up top now. This is their first day in here. They're not really happy about it, I don't think, because, you know, it's their first day in here. It's their new home. What I'm going to do is feed them a special meal, try to make them happy. They have pellets in there already, but this is a little extra snack.
What do you think about when you see this, Bryce?
Well, you know that song, it says, if heaven ain't a lot like Dixie, I just as soon stay home. Mm-hmm. I tell God that all the time. I said, God, please put some cedar trees in heaven for me. Please put that octagon in there. God, please. And I tell God all the time, I don't know how much better it could get. Look what you've given me. You've given me the farm of my dreams. You give me the wife of my dreams. How could heaven be better than this? But I know I got to submit to God and just trust that heaven's where I want to go. But I talk to God and I say, God, how could it be better than this? How could heaven be any better? But it is, you know, he says it is. So I just love Arkansas with all my heart, and that's why I know it's worth dying for.
Now, Bryce, today we know who you are, right? We hear your testimony. We've seen you fight. We've seen you fight for America when you're, giving your opinions. You're strong. You don't hold back. You're in a sport where the boss allows you to do that and doesn't even think about it. He doesn't even think about allowing you. It's like, no, you should do it. You have the freedom of speech, right? But if you and I were in high school together, 10th grade, who was Bryce Mitchell in 10th grade?
Well, so what got me into farming? Number one, and what made me who I am today, a huge moment happened. But first off, my Mimi grew up on a farm, and I think that is in my blood because she said that she was dirt poor. I mean, she's so poor she didn't have 2 pairs of clothes. But when she was near the end of her life, she would tell me, I wish I'd go back to that farm. She said, that's the best time of my life. She said, we was dirt poor. We didn't have nothing. They didn't have toys. They played with sticks, They didn't have nothing. But they never were hungry. They always had food. They bathed in the creek, and that's what she told me about. And she said, that was the best time of my life. And that always stuck with me. Now, what made me want to farm? Who
were you in high school? I want to know who you were when you were 14 years old, 9th grade, 10th grade. If we interviewed 10 guys and gals, teachers, coaches in high school, who would they say Bryce Mitchell was?
Well, when I was 16, that's when the biggest revelation, besides Jesus Christ, that I've ever had happened to me. When I was 16 years old, based upon my own research, because I am a source of information, even though they don't let you cite yourself. I am a valid source of information, and I don't do no bullshit. I tell the truth, and if I don't know it's true, I won't say it. But I'm telling you, I know, and I knew when I was 16 that our government orchestrated 9/11 and brought them towers down. I know it. Our government, white people, white rich politicians, not brown people with box cutters. I'm telling you, white people brought down them Twin Towers. Now, I told my mom. She didn't believe me at first. It took her about 10 years to actually believe me. Now my mom knows, a lot of my family knows. My wife knows. My friends know. Everybody, a lot of my inner circle, they agree with me on this stuff. But when I was 16, ain't nobody would believe me. And I was a lunatic. And so from that point, I deduced, okay, look, our government's killing our own people. And I mean, this ain't no theory in my head. I know it's a fact. I can give you all the evidence. They used thermate to melt the beams at a 45-degree angle. Then they blew some of them up. They probably shot the Pentagon with the missile, didn't hit it with the plane at all. I'm telling you, it was a very orchestrated attack from the inside. It had nothing to do with Muslims. Okay, I figured all this out when I was 16. And so I figured out, okay, wait a second. This corrupted government, they're already killing our people, like genociding our own people. It's going to get worse. And so from then on, I started thinking, what do we do? How am I going to be like George Washington or Paul Revere? Am I going to kill all these bad guys? And I said, no, there's no way. The one explanation that will lead to freedom more than anything else, starting a farm, controlling your own food. And so when I was 16 years old, I basically went down this search for truth, and it led me to the fact that the most substantial thing I can do is start a farm. That's how I can fight this evil. And so I farm today, not just because I like steak, because that's one of the reasons. I mean, I love steak, and they're never going to take my steak. I don't care what Bill Gates and all his armies of the devil want to do. They're never going to take my steak. They can take my life, but they will not take my steak. And I promise you that I love steak, okay? And I love cows, pigs, chickens, all of it, okay? But I deduced that the best way to be free is to first grow our own food. And that's why I do it.
What do you have on your farm right now?
Yeah, chickens, pigs, cattle. I'm working on a milk cow. That's coming by the end of the year. It's coming, brother. I grow watermelons. I'm like really, I'm naturally good at growing watermelons. I think all crops are great. But
what's the art to growing watermelons? Do you have a secret sauce?
No, sir. Just love and care. And, I've had a lot of people in my neighborhood that it's hard for them to grow their melons. And I always have an excess. I have so many melons, I can't eat them all. I'll show you a picture. I'm not kidding you. My phone's in my bag out there. But
yeah.
I can show you a picture of me with 50 watermelons piled up. And it's like, I can't eat them all. I've given them out to my neighbors. I give them to the chickens. I give them to the cows. I literally can't eat all of the melons I can grow. But I think maybe the Holy Spirit blesses me a little bit. But, I get in,
cool.
I care about the melons. I get in there, I pick the weeds by hand, I water them every night.
Is that your favorite? Watermelons are your favorite? Or
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you and I both. Because I can have watermelons nonstop.
Yep.
Matter of fact, every day I eat watermelon with cheese. As a Middle Eastern, we grew up, we would, goat cheese, you mix it together. And I used to do when I was 5-6 years old with my grandfather in Bandar Pahlavi. Bandar means port. Pahlavi is the name of the city. It's northern Iran. We used to sit there and we used to eat, watermelon with cheese, which was my thing. So you're a watermelon guy, farmed. That's how you got into it. So when I ask you about 16 years old, you went straight to 9/11. Is that because that was you? You were like, I'm telling you, they're doing something there. You don't. So you lacked trust in the government since you were that young.
16. That was the year that.
What caused that?
I deduced that 9/11 was an inside job.
How did that happen?
Based upon evidence. There's too much evidence to suggest that our politicians did it. They made too much money. There's too many clues. There's so much evidence. It'd take me days to sit here and tell you all of it. But I know, and I don't think I know based on my own research, that 19 guys with box cutters did not do that.
Okay. So when you say you think America is one of the greatest countries in the world, right? Based on what? What do you love about America? And also at the same time, some people will say, well, America's got a history. We've done a lot of things as well. We got, our own set of skeletons we have in a closet that we've done stuff. what part of America is the America you love? What part of America is like, that's not the America I love? How do you decipher between the two?
Well, the freedom. I mean, that's the simplest answer that I can give you. There's not another place where you can have guns and the Bible. I mean, where else can you have a Bible and have a nice rifle with it? You can't. I mean, in China, they'll cut your head off in some of these parts for having a Bible. You know, they're trying to rewrite the Bible over there in China. In these other countries where you can hold a Bible, you can practice religion, you sure as hell can't do it with a rifle in your hand. America is the home of the free and the brave. I'm telling you, there's not another place like it. And then, of course, you just look at the land, you know. I mean, it's just amazing. The trees, the grass, the Mississippi River is right there in Arkansas. It's just like it's the most fertile farmland in the world.
Interesting. So now, 9/11, if you say that's part of, U.S.'s history on the negative side of what's been done, because the U.S. blamed weapons of mass destruction. You want to call it President Bush. Hey, this is what's going on. Dick Cheney, I think it's the day before, whatever, $2 trillion went missing. Look, yeah, $2 trillion have been missing. They even reported on it. I don't know if you've seen that clip or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rob, have you seen that clip where they're like, yeah, $2 trillion been missing. We'll figure it out. We don't know where it went. But, it's not like every day. I mean, I'm sure you got $100,000 missing in your bank account. It's just a regular Tuesday. We happen to have $2 trillion. This is the one. Watch this here for the audience that hasn't seen it.
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
That's
2.3 trillion with a T.
The very next day, 9/11, the accounting officer were destroying the Pentagon. $2.3 trillion was done. I don't know if that's an accurate exact date or not. Obviously, that's the stories when you hear about them. But this is part of the ugly side of America. So who, when you look at the leaders and events that has been done, where you say, no, that's not my guy. Those people are destroying America. These people are the good guys. How do you decipher between the good guys and the bad guys?
Well, I have the gift of discernment that comes from the Holy Spirit. It didn't take me very long to really like you. When I listen to you, I just have discernment. I can sit here and tell you who I think the worst of the worst is and who I think the best of the best is. I think I naturally have that gift. For example, it's a little bit off topic, but for example, somebody that has fooled everybody, but he simply cannot fool me, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Absolutely. I think that he could possibly be, now I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but based off of what I think, he could possibly be the false prophet who presents the mark of the beast to the world and presents the Antichrist on the world stage. I mean, that's how evil I think he is. Now, let's back this up with a little bit of scripture. We can rest assured that Revelation has started. Okay, and I want to cite the part in Revelation where it says the Euphrates River will run dry. Now, the Euphrates River is going to run dry so that the army of 200 million comes from the east. Okay, they're going to march across that dry river and go to destroy Israel. Okay, this is all unfolded in the book of Revelation. Now, that was wrote some 2,000 years ago. John, who wrote that, could not have possibly known that river was going to dry up without supernatural means. It's impossible to predict a river drying up 1,000 years later. So what I'm telling you is that book was definitely supernaturally inspired, and that based off Revelation, based off of what's described, we are coming close to the second coming of Jesus. We are getting very close. That Euphrates River is getting really, really dry right now. So if you don't believe in the Bible, you don't believe it's prophetic, well, look up what I just said. I believe it's Revelation 16. I can't really quite remember everything, but I know it's in there. And it talks about the Euphrates River running dry. So why'd I bring that up? I brought that up to tell you that there's a good chance that the Antichrist is walking and breathing on this planet as we speak, which that means that the false prophet that comes along with the Antichrist is alive. So why do I think it's Elon Musk? Well, there's two pieces of evidence that are more significant. They're more significant than any other piece of evidence. One, it says in Revelation, the false prophet will deceive with fire from the sky. And so Elon Musk has this fake space program called SpaceX. And let me tell you, he ain't been past the firmament. No man has ever been past the firmament. He has not been in space. He has not put a rocket on Mars. He's not done anything he said he did. He's not a scientist. He's not a propulsion engineer. He don't make electric cars. He pays people to do it for him. He's one of the greatest scammers that humanity's ever seen. But I think he's actually a step further than just a con artist. I think he's evil embodied. And I can say that with confidence because, like I said, one piece of scripture, the false prophet will deceive with fire from the sky. But here's another piece of evidence is Elon Musk is inventing chips that go in people's brains. And I'm telling you, that is the behavior to look for when you're talking about the Antichrist. There's going to be a mark in everybody's head, and there's going to be a mark in it or on their hand, okay? That's what they call the mark of the beast. And I'm telling you, Elon Musk, if he hasn't invented the mark of the beast yet, he is laying the groundwork for the Antichrist to take that mark of the beast and implement it on all humans. Because right now, Elon Musk has actually put a chip in somebody's brain and convinced them that they're healthier now. And I'm telling you, that's beyond a con artist. That is evil embodied. To lie to somebody to the degree that you can tell them, hey, put this chip in your brain and I'll help you. And he's going to convince millions of people to put that chip in their brain. And I'm telling you right now, he sounds like the false prophet, and the false prophet is going to present the Antichrist.
So let me ask you a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
So, if Musk doesn't buy Twitter, October of 2022, I don't know the exact time when he bought it. Anyways, if Elon Musk doesn't buy Twitter, right? And he decides to just focus on SpaceX, which is now October of 2022. Yeah. So which is now a $210 billion company. You can pull up SpaceX market cap. I think it's a $210 billion company. He continues with Tesla, which he took from, a $59 billion company to $650 billion plus trillion valuation, gets his $55 billion payout, give or take, whatever the number is. He could have continued doing that. He could have continued doing those things. But if he doesn't buy Twitter and you say something like this that you just said right now, this wouldn't stay. Any of the stuff that you said, these interviews wouldn't stay on Twitter. They would ban you. They would silence you. You would be suspended from Twitter, right? But you're out there being able to say this stuff about him, right? So if he's the Antichrist, why would he be okay
the false
with
prophet?
The false prophet? Because Antichrist is walking. Yeah, he's on earth, but the false prophet. If he's a false prophet, why would he allow so many people to say what they say about him? Why would he give him that permission?
Here's the thing. In the Great Depression, did you know that the government handed out soup to people? Now, does that mean that the government cares about you? Does that mean that the government's going to help you because they handed out soup? No, the government caused the Great Depression, and then they offer you a measly bowl of soup. Does that mean that the government is who you trust because they're the ones handing out soup? No, he might have given you a little bit of freedom on Twitter. He's going to take everything from you. You put that chip in your brain and you watch. And I'll tell you right now, he is evil embodied. Nobody wants to put a chip in somebody else's brain unless if they are evil and sadistic. And I'll say it right to his face. I'm not scared of him, and I die right now. I don't care. There's nothing he can do to scare me. And I'm not scared to tell people what I believe because I'm telling you, if you get that chip in your brain from Elon Musk, you've been fooled.
The chip is the one that makes you uncomfortable.
When you type in Neuralink and Greek beta gematria, you get the numerical value of 666.
Can you type that in?
Now, gematria, apparently, I don't know a bunch of stuff. I'm not that well versed in my history, but gematria is when they give words or letters a numerical value. When you type in Neuralink and Greek beta gematria, 666. That's why I believe it.
Okay, so where did you read that? Did you read that online or?
I typed it in myself. I went to the Greek beta gematria calculator and I typed in the word Neuralink. And its numerical value in Greek beta gematria is 666. So, I could be wrong, but either way, he's still evil. He's still a liar. I mean, just like, for example, we're talking about his cars. Let's talk about his cars. You take one of them cyber trucks. It can't pull two of my trucks from state to state. Dude, I'll take a 7.3 IDI back from 91. And I'll load up 2 or 3 cyber trucks and I'll pull them all the way across the country. His trucks can't do that. That was back in 91 they were making diesel engines that could do that. His truck ain't nothing. He can't even make a real truck for men. That cyber truck is a piece of garbage. His Teslas, they're garbage. He's conned everybody by believing that all these electric vehicles are so great. It's the biggest scam I've ever seen in my life, those electric vehicles are. And not only that, here's why they're inhumane. Because to get all the power for them batteries, you have to mine all of these elements, and that's all done by child labor. So people thinking, oh, we're helping the environment. Dude, you're increasing the demand for child labor, because that's how all these batteries are made, is child labor. So he's doing the opposite of what he's saying in every single aspect. Just like in SpaceX, they're taking these rockets up and they launch them and then they crash them in the ocean. That's it. He can't go to space. No man has crossed the firmament. You see what I'm saying? So if you believe that Elon Musk has passed the firmament, or if you don't know what the firmament is, then I'm just telling you, you've been tricked. And it's okay to be tricked, but it's really good to not be tricked.
So Bryce, here's what I did. When you're saying Neuralink, 666, all that stuff, right? And, you know, a similar thing to Monster Drink. Have you ever seen a Monster Drink if you flip it to 666?
It is demonic, brother. Monster energy drinks are demonic. In the name of Jesus Christ, I'll never promote that product. They're partnered with the UFC, but I will not promote that demonic product. It's straight from the pits of hell. That's right. It has 666 on the can. They just come out with the flavor called Bad Apple. Now they're referring to the fall of man, and they put it on the can. That the flavor is called Bad Apple, and it says on the can.
Pull this up, Rob.
On the can it says, "This flavor is so good it'll get you kicked out of the Garden of Eden." So they are mocking Christianity. If you put that in your body, you're partaking in a demonic ritual.
It says if you put this in your body. Wait, they said zoom in, Rob, to see if that's what it says or not. I can't see it.
It said this drink is so good it's worth getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden for.
Forget your regular apple juice. Bad Apple is so good it's almost worth getting kicked out of Eden over.
That's what they named it.
And when you turn that bottle upside down, that's 666 in Hebrew. I'm telling you, brother, this is demonic.
So go back to Elon Musk. So who do you think named because first thing you made me do is Neuralink, what it stands for.
Right.
So I said, let me see who named the company Neuralink. Rob, can you pull up the link I just sent you? So watch this. Meet the guys who sold Neuralink to Elon Musk without even realizing it. Okay, so this is a story from 7 years ago. Go all the way down. Let's read it. So last week we learned that Elon Musk will start a mind-computer interface called Neuralink. The name added a brainy new entry to Musk's growing scroll of big ideas, Tesla, Solar City, SpaceX, and Hyperloop. But as the news of Musk's nascent venture to merge man and machine spread across social media, an electric engineer in Ohio named Pedram Mohseni must have been slapping his forehead. That's because in January, he'd agreed to sell the name Neuralink to Musk without realizing it. So that could mean that Mohseni came up with the name Neuralink, not Musk. That's where I go to automatically, right, to see where the credibility is there. Because I understand having strong positions against somebody. It's America. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having that. I understand, thinking certain people are false prophets. I'm sure there's many of them out there that act like, you ever seen that one pastor who's in his jet and the lady comes up to him and starts interviewing him and how he reacts? You ever seen that interview?
Yeah, demon manifest.
Right.
Yeah, I know
he says, I don't want to be in a, what did he call it, a loop with other demon, Is that
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, that clip, right?
I've seen it, brother.
So that's the part with Elon Musk. So, because others have said it as well, where, what's his motive with that? I don't know if I'm going to be a testimony of somebody that's going to want Neuralink in me or not. I had a guy here, Billy Carson. I don't know if you know who Billy Carson is.
Oh, yeah.
He's a guy that, forbidden knowledge, if I'm saying it correctly, Rob. And I said, let me ask you, what would you do with Neuralink? Would you ever put it in your brain? He says, not today. I said, why not? He said, I just wouldn't put it today because I don't need it today. My brain works good today. I said, so would you put it later on? She says, yeah, if I notice all of a sudden, my cognitive and my thinking and all this stuff is kind of declining, I'd put it in. I said, are you looking, you're saying it very simply, Billy, as if it's like steroids. If my testosterone levels drops, I'm going to get on steroids. He says, yeah, something similar to that, right? Now, Billy's a pretty skeptical guy. He doesn't trust a lot of people to be able to say something like that. But there are some people that say this Neuralink is going to help people with some other issues that they have that they would entertain putting in it. I don't know that. I'm not interested in that. But, only time will tell what this is going to do for us. Go ahead.
Well, I think that Elon Musk is such a nice guy that, brother, you won't have to put it in your forehead. You could also put it in your right palm if you want to. You see what I'm saying? It's going to be in your forehead or your right palm. You just watch. It's going to evolve.
Tell me what you mean, your right palm.
The mark of the beast. It's going to be in the forehead or the right palm. You see, and Elon Musk is so nice, he'll give you the option, I bet you. You can put it in your forehead or your right palm. The time will prove me true, because as time keeps going, you're going to be able to see more of the stuff that I'm saying is true. It's going to come out. It's going to be undeniable. Now, you say that Elon Musk, he got sold that name Neuralink, and I believe that. That's fine. But the Bible, when it says that the mark is going to be 666, it doesn't say where that comes from. It just says the mark is going to be 666. That does not take away the fact that if you type in Neuralink in Greek beta gematria, it's numerical value 666. I don't care who sold it to him or this or that. For example, perfect example, when I talk about the Euphrates River being dry, and that these prophecies in the Bible are coming true, it's undeniable. You know what people want to tell me? They want to tell me, yeah, but the river is coming dry because they've dammed it up. It's just because people have dammed up the river. It's not anything to be worried about. The people dammed up the river. That's why there's a perfectly natural explanation for why the river's running dry. And I say, yeah, but the river's running dry. Like the book said, it doesn't matter how it's running dry. The river is dry. The book 2,000 years ago said the river's going to run dry. When that happens, this happens. 200 million people cross from the east to the west to kill Israel. Now, when John wrote that 2,000 years ago, there wasn't 200 million people on the planet. There might have been a couple million people. So a guy said that one of the most active rivers in all of civilization, he said, hey, that river's going to dry, and 200 million people are going to walk across it, an army of 200 million people. There wasn't 200 million people on the planet, and the river wasn't dry. Now there's an army of 200 million to the east, which is China, which is, I'm telling you, China is going to militarize. They're going to come over to kill everybody. You mark my words. And that river's dry. So it doesn't matter how that river got dry.
You think China's going to go after Israel?
I think so, brother. That's what's coming.
That's what's coming. So your thoughts, I've heard you comment on Israel and Palestine and Gaza. What are your opinions on Israel as a nation and some of the other commentary you're hearing, especially recently, Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, October 7th, things got very heated, a lot of things. Calm down a little bit, but still it's a topic of discussion. Where do you stand with it?
Well, I don't think that United States going over there is going to help anything. I certainly won't be volunteering my services. I tell people all the time, I'm going to die in the pine trees, not in the sand. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going over there because any type of U.S. involvement over there is going to make it worse. And let me tell you what I think is happening. I think that the powers that be are conspiring, and they're using U.S. tax dollars to piss off the Muslims. And by Muslims, I mean Iran, okay? They're pissing off Iran. Now, who's Iran going to bring into the fight? Russia and China. Mm-hmm. So if they piss off Iran enough, who's got all the oil and is backed by Russia and China, all they got to do is use U.S. tax dollars, which they have a plethora of, to piss off Iran. And as soon as they piss off Iran, here comes China, here comes Russia. And I'm telling you, any U.S. involvement in that is going to make things worse. The best thing the United States could do is stay the hell out of it and get their tax dollars out of that region. If we could just make it to where our taxes don't go overseas, we'd be better. But I'm telling you what's going to happen. They're going to use United States tax dollars to bomb these Muslims, to piss these Muslims off. And the Muslims are going to bring their buddies, the Russians and Chinese, and they're going to come kill. They're going to come to kill all of Israel. That's what I think is going to happen. I think it's inevitable.
What do you think about Muslims?
I love them to death, and they're the closest things to Christians we got.
Tell me more.
Well, because they believe in a God. They know that there's a God. They have a way of life. They have a book that they follow. They're very devout people. They've just been deceived. And I think it's this simple. The life of Muhammad speaks for itself. When you talk about a man who, in factual statement right here, Muhammad was a pedophile by today's standards. So you're talking about a man who was a pedophile. He had a 6-year-old wife, a 9-year-old wife, 11-year-old wife, had all these wives. He's not righteous. Jesus Christ is the one who's righteous. But these people have been deceived by Muhammad. Muhammad came after Jesus Christ, okay? Jesus Christ had long been on this planet before Muhammad. He comes around and he's trying to steal all the glory. But this is not a righteous man, okay? And like I said, by all accounts, he's a pedophile. And I don't care if Muslims come bomb my farm right now. I don't care. I'm going to tell the truth, and the truth is Muhammad's a pedophile. I won't worship him. He's not a holy man. and he don't deserve my respect.
But you said you love Muslims.
I love Muslims. I love people. I just don't like that they're Muslims. In fact, I got a lot of Muslim friends because that's the cool thing about MMA is like all the people train together, and you just kind of don't bring that stuff on the mats, you know, a lot. But I have a lot of Muslim friends, and I try to preach the word of Jesus to them all the time. And the number one thing I have to say is that Muhammad is a pedophile. You know, he had multiple young wives. That's something Jesus Christ would never do.
Have you ever fought somebody from Khabib's camp?
No, I fear no man. I'll say that right to anybody's face. I don't care who you are. You can come kill me, but you're not going to take the truth out of my mouth. You can cut my tongue out, and I'm going to sit here and tell you Muhammad's a pedophile because I like calling pedophiles out for what they are.
Bryce, who from Khabib's camp is in your weight category?
I'm not sure, but there was a guy named Zabit who's probably a Muslim who's over there, but he retired. But shoot, if they want to do Russia versus America, that's fine. You know, I'm not scared of none of those guys. Like I said, I'm protected by the Holy Spirit. You know.
So okay. So let's say you love Muslims, then you're saying what you're saying about Muhammad. Got it. And then, so now walk me through what you think about Jews and Israel. So what do you think about the religion of Judaism and Israel?
Well, I think even the Bible says that the Bible definitely says that people that call themselves Jews are not. So Jesus said that. I mean, just straight out of his mouth. He said people will say that they're Jews, but they are not. They're wicked. And I think that that's what's going on. And I believe that 99% of the Jews are really nice people, but who has all the wealth, you know? A lot of rich Jews, you know what I mean? And I think that a lot of the more elite rich Jews are conspiring to take that land back, kill all Muslims and Christians.
You think kill all Muslims and Christians?
Yes.
You think Jews want to kill all Muslims and Christians?
I think the elite ones do, yeah. I think a lot of the elite Jews want to kill Christians and Muslims.
Why would you say that? What would make you think that's their motive?
Well, I mean, that's just what they believe in. They deny Jesus Christ, and so they view themselves as superior. A lot of them. Now, I'm not saying every single Jew, but you got to realize there's a lot of very, very wealthy Jews that have a lot of power, and I think these are the people that are over there bombing innocent Muslims. You know, a lot of these Muslims getting bombed, they didn't do nothing. You know, they're just innocent women and children just getting bombed, and I think that elite Jews are the main cause of all the innocent Muslims dying.
What do you think? Okay,
but they use Christian tax dollars
to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. So at least financially, they're very frugal. Maybe is a word where they're willing to borrow your money to do it, not their own money to do it.
Exactly.
Okay. So let me ask you: who do you trust more? Who do you trust more? Do you trust more a Muslim's motive or a Jew's motive? And I'm talking specifically the ones of power and the ones of influence.
I think that the Jews conspire more than the Muslims do. I think the Muslims, if anything, just want to be left alone. But they're not going to be left alone. They're going to be continuously bombed. That Iran and Iraq, all that area, they're going to be pushed to the point where they have to retaliate. And those Muslims they're going to form armies. They're going to bring the Russians and Chinese into the fight, and they're going to retaliate. I think all those Muslims are going to gang up and give hell on this earth. But I believe that they're being pushed to that point. I don't think that a lot of them are that evil. I mean, some of them are, but you also have some evil Christians out there, you know. But in general, I've never met a Muslim personally that I didn't like.
Yeah. In Arkansas, when you went to school, how many was the school mainly Caucasian, white? Was there a lot of Jews, or was there? I'm assuming there's no Jews and no Muslims in where you went to school.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I went to Cabot, so that was like there was only 2 black kids in our whole school.
Right.
But you know, I was an atheist then, anyways.
Got it.
But you know, I never discriminated on religion. I just think, as a whole, the Muslims are getting bombed so much that they're going to retaliate. I don't think that they're evil or nothing like that. I just think that they're going to be pushed to the point to where they have to form an army and they have to retaliate. And I think that that's what's going to be that World War III, is when the Muslims bring the Chinese and the Russians into the fight.
So, okay, let's do devil's advocate argument on both sides. Okay, and let's see how you respond to this. So, okay, The Muslims, the part with Muslims where I think, Muslims and Christians can unite in these topics is leave our kids alone, right? Don't bother my kids.
Yeah.
You're not going to come and tell my kids that they're going to be part of LGBTQ community. You're not going to do that to a Muslim. They're not going to be okay with that.
No.
And guess what? A Christian with strong values is going to be like, yeah, we're on the same page with this. I'm good. Okay, leave me alone. Okay, let me do my own thing. And that's Muslims. That's the good, right? Values, principles, family. Leave me alone. I'll do my own thing.
Yeah.
Great. On the Jew side, that, they may say, look, we have better financial ideas than you guys do. We are raised based on ideas on doing business together. When one makes money, five makes money, and we reinvest. We're frugal with our money. We're cheap. We don't necessarily go out there and waste our money on stuff that we don't have. We're long-term thinking. You guys spend all your money. Is that my fault that your family doesn't teach you about how money works and we do? Is it my fault that you guys are not thinking long-term and we are? What's wrong with that? So you mean to tell me you wouldn't want to have influence as well? What if you work your way up and you have some kind of influence? You wouldn't use your influence to share the gospel or message of Jesus Christ? Wouldn't you want to do that? Both arguments may be a valid argument that they're making, right? Mm-hmm. But what you're saying, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, maybe you can correct it. You're saying is, no, their motive is a different motive than just money. Is that what you're saying?
The elite Jews, absolutely.
What do you think their motive is? Are you saying
to control that Holy Land and to kill non-Jews? I think that there are Jews in positions of power that want to kill non-Jews and take back Israel.
Give examples of them killing non-Jews. I understand you could say Muslims in Gaza, but give examples of killing non-Jews, like Christians.
Well,
Catholics,
Look at all of this bombing that we've done over in Iraq, Afghanistan, brother. The body counts in the millions.
Yeah.
Millions.
But that's Muslims.
Millions. Yeah, but who's killing the Muslims?
Okay, so...
White people.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to tell you is they're being pushed to the point.
But that's not Jews, though.
They don't. It's American tax dollars, but who controls Congress? The Jews. The Jews control it.
So you're going to AIPAC is where you're going.
That's what I'm telling you, brother.
Okay,
the Jews control where our tax. The elite Jews are using Christian tax dollars to bomb Muslims.
Let me ask you a question. If Muslims had the ability, I'm sure you've seen the clips where they say, "Hey, what do you think we're trying to do? We're trying to bring Sharia law to every single place." I had a guy on the podcast here, Daniel Harikaju, okay? I enjoy talking to him, and he is fully a Muslim, okay, Iranian guy. I think he lives in Texas. Mm-hmm. And he's actually an intellect. You can have a good conversation with him. Mm-hmm. But when I ask him, tell me about Sharia law. No, this is exactly what it stands for. That's what you believe. That's what we believe. And the laws in America that we're going, you want to bring those laws here? Look, if it happens, but right now it's not like that. And then there's even the other video, Rob, the one in Canada. Do you remember that one man in Canada was kind of like, you know what we're going to do to you? Watch what we're going to do to you. When you're not even thinking about it, we're going to bring the Sharia law. You've never seen it? Have you ever seen this clip or no?
Yeah. Well, I've seen the immigrants threatening people. Like it might have been that exact clip. But I think that they're organizing to attack us. I mean, the United States.
Muslims.
Some of them, yeah. And
is this the entire clip, Rob?
Okay, I've not seen this.
Okay, I want you to watch this clip. I'm going to get your thoughts on this. Go for it.
What happened to a gay couple in Palestine, sir?
What?
What would happen to a gay couple in Gaza?
Executed according to Islamic law. Islam doesn't endorse gayism. Islam doesn't endorse homosexuality. Just like Canada doesn't endorse a lot of things.
So would you like to see Sharia law in Canada replace Canadian law?
At some point it will. Because we have families, we are making babies. You're not.
Exactly.
Your population is going down the slum, right? And by 2060, according to Pew Research Institute, your research, by 2060, Muslims will be the biggest religious group the world over. What are you going to do then?
Actually,
to oppose Sharia is even then?
Well, you know what? I'm very appreciative of the honesty. We don't usually get that.
One day we can have a Muslim majority nation here in Canada, right in your face.
What happened to?
What do you think about that?
So my first thought about that is look at that extreme Muslim, okay? And that's what it devolves into, is them wanting to kill gays, okay? That's the most extreme form of it that you're going to see right there. Now, Christianity, they don't like gays. They don't like people being gays. Christianity is taught to basically forgive everybody, literally forgive everybody for anything. That's the ultimate power of Jesus Christ. He was the master of forgiveness. And so, because we've all sinned, especially sexual sins, when there was that story in the Bible where I think it was a prostitute, they're about to stone her to death. And Jesus said, well, those of you who haven't sinned sexually, who haven't committed adultery with your eyes, you cast the first stone. So what I want to say is Christianity does not teach to kill people. It's that simple. Muslim, you saw it right there. He said we would cut your head off for being gay. Christians don't do that. Real Christians that abide by the Bible, the Word of God, they can look at an example from Jesus himself where he saved somebody who was sexually impure. He does not care. He forgives. And so that's the power of Christianity. We're only going to beat these enemies by forgiving people, being more inclusive. Now, that don't mean just me sitting up here and saying I like faggots. I ain't never going to say that. I don't like it. They kill babies because they're the ones that don't make them. They don't make babies. That's why it's evil. I'm never going to say that. But what I'm not ever going to say is I'm going to cut a gay person's head off. In fact, I'll die for a gay person's right. That's right. I'll die for some gay person fighting for this country, for our freedom. Even though I don't think that they should be gay, I think it's evil because they're killing babies. They're killing whole bloodlines. It don't matter. I would never harm a gay person. And I'm telling you right now, a Muslim will cut your damn head off. And that's a difference in Christianity and Muslims right there. That is a difference. Forgiveness. That is the difference. Jesus Christ was the embodiment of forgiveness.
So what's the difference between Muslims and Jews?
I think Jews got more money, but
that's the difference. You're saying you think Jews got more money? Yeah. You see, for me, I get along with everybody.
Yeah.
And when I tell you everybody, I literally get along with everybody. I'm not attracted to entitlement attitude, blame, victimhood, complainers. I'm not attracted to those qualities. But that quality has nothing to do with Christians, Muslims, Jews, blacks, white. That could be anybody. It's skinless, right? And it's religion free. It's just got to do a way you have an attitude. And I lived in different places. I lived in Iran almost 11 years. Okay, and I was 10 years old, 3 months before I turned 11 years old, I went to Germany. So I was around it and I witnessed a lot of it, what it was like. And then I lived in LA 20-something years, around a lot of Jews, right? And I saw how they were. And I saw what the good, the bad, the ugly was of that community. More cliquish, more protective. Yeah. You were not welcome into all the clubs and,
right.
And that area of if they have to choose between you winning and them winning, they're choosing them winning over
Absolutely.
you. They were very much like that.
Yeah.
The same can be said about Mormons. I was in business with Mormons. If there was the option about promoting me or somebody else and the other person was a Mormon, they would have promoted the Mormon over me. And I understood that. That was something that they cared for more because they were Mormons. I remember one time this movie came out, Napoleon Dynamite. I don't know if you've ever seen it or not.
It's been a while, yeah.
So this group in the office is like, Napoleon Dynamite may go down as the greatest movie of all time. I'm like, holy shit. And I love movies. So I go watch this movie, Rob. And I literally, 2 hours later, I'm actually sincerely angry because this may be the worst movie I've seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
I can't wait to come to the office the next and saying, what the hell is the matter with you? I wasted 2 years of my life. This was the worst. They said, no, this guy's going to win an Oscar.
I fell asleep. Yeah, it was a bad movie.
You know why they recommended this movie and called it the greatest movie of all time? Because the main actor, that guy right there, is a Mormon. So I'm like, you are so freaking loyal to your faith that you convinced me Napoleon Dynamite was going to be the next A Few Good Men or Scent of a Woman, and this is the second coming of Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise or, Richard Gere, whatever you want to call it. But, I understood where you're wanting to have your own person from your church do better. I actually don't have a problem with that. That doesn't do anything for me and maybe it's not a Christian quality. Christians don't have that. Like, we don't have a problem with
doing business with the Muslim.
At all.
Yeah, at
Zero.
all. Yeah,
exactly. I can do business with Muslim, with Christian, with Mormon.
That's right.
It doesn't bother me at all. Now, you're going to come and put I don't know if you've seen the videos circulating where a man with a stick is beating the woman in a dress in the middle of a public to make an example of this person. I mean, you know, I was there and I saw some of that stuff when I was a kid. That makes you a little bit uncomfortable. A kid should not grow up seeing some of that stuff in today's times. But yeah, so for me, when I see where you're going with it and where your opinions are, I'm always very curious to see where you know, your thoughts with Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens, when that happened. How did you process that? You know, one's a Christian, African-American woman doing what she does. The other one, Ben Shapiro, you know, both of them get hundreds of millions of views. At this point, both of them gotten billions of views. How did you process that moment?
Well, they just teamed up on Candace Owens and used the money, the corporation, the media to attack her, and she didn't do nothing. And she's actually more sincere in her thoughts than Ben Shapiro is, because I've watched one clip of Ben Shapiro talking about this war, and that was enough to make me say, you know what, I don't trust nothing this guy says. I don't believe him no more. I don't. And for example, who endorsed the vaccine? His name is Ben Shapiro. That tells you all you need to know. That little rat, he endorsed the vaccine. He made fun of people because they didn't want to put some foreign object into their body. Ben Shapiro done that. And I'm telling you right now, if you trust that man, it leads to death. If you put that vaccine in your body, you're going to have a stroke. You're going to have myocarditis. Your face is going to twitch, okay? I'm just telling you, that guy is a rat. He don't care about you. All he cares about is his political agenda. And so the video of Ben Shapiro that made me really dislike him, because I honestly didn't like him once he said, you know, he was making fun of unvaccinated people. That really made me mad. But what really made me not like him is he went on the news, and it might have been Fox. I can't even remember who it was, but I know he did it because I remember.
Ben made fun of unvaccinated people?
Ben absolutely made. Wow. He said, you goofs, you need to get vaccinated. You know, so he's making fun of people not getting vaccinated. And if you didn't get vaccinated, you're smart. You're stupid if you got one of them things because you trusted the government, you know. But here's the thing is with Ben, he went on this network, I believe it was Fox, and he was talking about the enemies. He's talking about Muslims, and he calls them heathens. He said, I mean, these are his own words. He said, it's hard to even fight an enemy who's not like a human. So he is dehumanizing the enemy. That's never a good tactic. That's never a good tactic to say these people are heathens, blah, blah, blah. I mean, as a Christian, you gotta realize, hey, everybody is made in the image of God. Everybody has equal value, and you might have to go to war with somebody, but to sit there and call them heathens and to try to dehumanize the enemy, I don't trust you, you know, and I don't trust Ben Shapiro. So he is dehumanizing an enemy because he politically wants a certain result, and I just don't trust him at all. And Candace Owens, all she did was say what was honest, and she don't support that war. I believe that's all that she said to get everybody to turn on her.
Is that what you're talking about, the vaccine? This is, Rob, what's the date on this they just pulled up? This is at the peak, December 8, 2020. The vaccine is 95% effective in preventing you from getting the virus, and it also mitigates the severity of the disease. 99% of those who actually get the COVID-19 will survive. And he's responding to Elijah Schaefer. Your immune system has a higher success rate at combating COVID than the actual vaccine, 99% versus 95%. Think about it. I mean, look, you know, you made a few comments about the fact that if you get it, here's what's going to happen to you. Here's what, you know, last week I had somebody on the podcast, Brianne Dressen and Kyle Warner. They started a organization called React 19, which they have 36,000 other people that are a part of it who have actually experienced the percentage of people that have experienced some kind of reaction from taking a vaccine. And she was case one, where she's suing AstraZeneca. And she actually was one of the first cases that went to NIH to find out why her body's reacting the way she does. And now she's suing AstraZeneca, and there's a bunch of other stories too. And if somebody wants to follow the story, let me go to another one here.
But hey, I'm sure Ben Shapiro's going to help her pay for those medical bills, right? I'm sure Ben Shapiro's going to hold her hands through all her surgeries and all her medical illnesses now, right? Ben Shapiro's going to help, right? No, he don't give a shit about you. He'll sit there, he'll sell you that garbage poison vaccine. He'll sell it to you, and he'll sell you on this war killing innocent people. And all I believe that Candace said is that she don't want war and she don't want people dying.
Yeah.
And then they turn the whole media on her because she won't support genocide. She won't say, hey, let's go kill all these Muslims. She won't do it. And that's why they turned on her. And Ben Shapiro, he's a rat. And like I said, I have enough spiritual discernment to know who's a rat and who's not.
You know what's the great thing about you can't fake being likable or not, okay? the market is a big fan of Candace.
Yeah.
They like her, they love her, and she's got to fight. And I think she's still going through it. I think she is, her best decades are way ahead of her. I don't know what she's going to be doing. With Ben, I think this was a big mistake on their end. Obviously, the market's reacting to it as well. Whatever you and I say, it's irrelevant. It's how the market's reacting to it. Long term, we're going to see what's going to happen with this as it continues. Bryce, your son, Tucker, right? You said something. He said, look, we're going to be homeschooling. I think there's even a clip. Rob, is this the clip? Yeah, can you play this clip, Rob? I want you to play this clip. Go ahead.
I want to show y'all Tucker James. He's over 12 pounds now. He was born at 7.8 pounds.
That's cool.
So he's very healthy. He's doing very good. I wanted to encourage y'all not to vaccinate your children because I think it's bad for their health. Could potentially kill them, give them some type of, make them autistic. I mean, seriously, these vaccines are poisonous. So don't vaccinate your kids. Tucker's also going to be homeschooled. We're going to have to homeschool our kids or they're all going to end up turning gay. And that's the reason that I'm going to homeschool Tucker's because I don't want him to be a communist. I don't want him to worship Satan. I don't want him to be gay. I'm going to have to homeschool. Now,
I have to ask you, what is that sound? Is that a dog, a pig?
French bulldog.
French bulldog. I have to ask you that.
That's my guard dog.
I totally visualize a French bulldog snoring because that's very normal for them.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's your biggest concern with sending kids to school?
Is not just the lack of education. Everybody says, oh, well, they're wasting their time. They're doing worse than wasting their time. If you lock your kid up in a cell and he does nothing and nobody talks to him, they'd be better off doing that than going to public school because they are doing anti-education at school. They're teaching the kids they come from monkeys. They're teaching the kids that the earth is 9 billion years old. They're teaching the kids all of these evil things, and they're highly orchestrated. They're teaching your kids that we come from monkeys so that they don't live by the word of God. They don't want your kid to have salvation in the name of Jesus Christ. So they're going to go lock your kids up in this government-run program and tell them that we come from monkeys. They'll tell them anything to get them away from Jesus Christ. And how do I know this? Because I lived it. They tricked me. They told me, oh, we went to the moon. Oh, we did all this. Oh, the earth is 9 billion years old. I believed it all. I believed we come from monkeys. But guess who I called upon when I seen a demon? Jesus Christ. And that's how I know his name is real. And that's why I cannot let my kid go to public school. That is the devil itself.
Bryce, have you ever been to California?
A couple times, yes, sir. Been training out there.
Have you walked in the streets of California, kind of seen what's going on?
It's a lot of demons out there.
Did you go to California for Pride Month?
No, sir.
You don't give me the vibes of somebody that would go support. Actually, Rob, I would actually pay to see it, to have Bryce out there in the streets of Pride Month. Have you seen some of the clips circulating on what they're doing in San Francisco?
It's
guys walking around naked in front of kids and danglings and peeing on each other and all this BS that's going on.
This is the spirit of Jezebel that's coming out. And let me tell you something I can prove to you right now, and I mean, this is 100% pure proof that Pride Month, all this gay stuff is demonic. You want to know how? You can't spell Pride Month without demon. PRIDEMONTH. Do you see what they do? They put these, spelling is meant to cast spells. So when they articulated the word Pride Month, they made sure right in the middle of Pride Month is the word demon, because that's what Pride Month is about. It's about glorifying demons, glorifying death. When Jesus Christ, if you live by the word of God, you'll be prosperous for all your life. It'll lead to nothing but victory and prosperity. But if you glorify demons, you will have certain death and certain destruction. Not one of these gay people will have a grandson like I will, or a granddaughter like I will. All of these ways lead to death and destruction. And like I said, Pride Month, right in the middle of Pride Month is the word demon, because that's what it's there to glorify, demons and Satan.
Why do you think they're doing it, though? What's the long-term outcome?
The long-term effect is to weaken this Christian nation so that when these communists come over here, they can kill us all. Because like I said, gay people, they don't build an army. Gay people can't build no army. All they do is take other people's kids and convert them to gays.
You mean to tell me like a gay army wouldn't intimidate you?
Oh, they'd have your back, all right.
You counterpuncher, man. I wasn't too quick, dog. That's hilarious. Yeah, but it's the reason why I asked the question today. I had another gentleman here with me, the author of the book, The Fourth Turning. I don't know if you've read it or heard of the book before.
No, sir.
They wrote it in 1997, December of 1997, when the book came out. They made 5 predictions, okay? One of the predictions was there's 4 turnings that you go through, right? First is a high, then it's the awakening, then unraveling, then crisis. And we're in crisis mode right now, according to the 4th turning, right? And he says the 5 predictions they made in the book that's going to be happening, one of them was a massive financial crisis, global financial crash, which happened. 2, a global pandemic, which happened. 3, Russia would invade a neighboring Soviet, one of the former Soviet countries. Happened. What was a Tea Party one, Rob? Do you remember the 4th one he made? Anyways, 4 out of the 5 predictions all became a reality. One of them didn't. The only one that they predicted in the book that would cause us to go back to typical conventional way of living was an all-out civil war. And he says every time in the history where we've gone through these 4 turnings, every single time, the 4th one, the only way we go back to massive change is through war. Their prediction was there's a possibility that's going to be a civil war. And then he quoted something. He quoted a book from a lady named Barbara F. Walters, who, Rob, is that the daughter of Barbara Walters?
I don't think so.
Is it a different Barbara Walters? Okay. So who knows? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. This lady goes, Barbara F. Walter. Can you actually check to see? Okay, Barbara F. Walter. This lady writes a book. And go to the book she wrote, Rob. The book she wrote right there. Now, right there. How civil wars start, okay? She goes around the world interviewing other countries where had experienced a civil war. Mm-hmm. And everybody she interviews, every one of them said the same thing about civil war. Do you remember her words, Rob? She said, everybody I spoke to, they all said, we never saw it coming. We never saw it coming. She says, nobody thinks a civil war is going to come before it comes. All of a sudden, boom, it's here, right? Yeah. I asked you the question about the whole LGBTQ, California Pride, all the stuff that we're talking about, and but a part of it right now is the divide in the values and principles that we have is so wide. It's almost as if somebody from the outside is trying to cause a civil war in America to break us apart, right?
So that we could be picked off by the Russians and Chinese. That's right.
So you believe that could happen?
It could absolutely happen.
By the way, Bryce Mitchell is officially on my neck. So if you got any questions, you want to FaceTime with him, have a call with him, maybe even see what he's got going on in his backyard, you can connect Bryce Mitchell. This is his QR code. Ask him any question about today's podcast. Some tells me he's going to give you an entertaining response.
Here's the thing. If we just restarted and had fresh people in there that cared about the country and we got rid of taxes completely, there shouldn't be no taxes. Maybe you could tax an import or export or something like that, but the income tax, it's trash. I mean, we just need a whole new system. The Federal Reserve, it's corrupted. It's all corrupted. And I don't know where all this is going to go, but for somebody like me who has all these thoughts and loves Jesus Christ but can't do anything, you know what I got to do? Start a farm. That's the only thing I can do. That's the only thing we can do is start a farm. Just like in Jeremiah, when the people was enslaved, God's people was enslaved, God instructs them with 3 things. He says, take wives, make children, and plant gardens. And I think that's what Christians ought to do. Do I think we're going to have this mighty revolution and replace all this evil? No. We're not. We're not organized enough, and Satan's going to control this earth to the day that we're dead or get raptured. But what I'm telling you is that would be ideal. Hang all the pedophiles and restart the government. Do I think that's going to happen? No. So what am I telling everybody to do? Take wives, make children, plant gardens. Straight out the book of Jeremiah. Those aren't my ideas. My ideas are stupid. My ideas are kill all the pedophiles and start over. No, we're never going to organize that. The Word of God says take wives, make children, and plant gardens, and I've done that.
You know what a Jewish proverb said?
No.
Write a book, plant a tree, have a son. That's a Jewish proverb. So some similarities there. But for them, there's a little bit of money to be made when you write a book. So you got to make sure financially, you know what I'm saying? But again, that's a joke. It's called comedy. It's okay. We're in safe space, folks. It's okay to laugh every once in a while at each other. Okay, so, another topic, really curious to know where you're going to go with this. My kids have this little, what do you call it? You call it a globe, or you spin it? What would you call that, Rob? Is that a globe?
Yeah, that's a globe.
A globe, okay. And we all had it when we were kids, right? I mean, if I had to give them a flat Earth globe, it's a little bit disappointing to them if I gave it to them, right? They would be heartbroken. They would say, Dad, I want it to be round because it's like a ball. It's exciting. You can kick it if it breaks. There's things you can do with it. Why are you so obsessed with removing this incredible experience for kids away and telling them it's flat? Why would you do that to them?
Well, the good news is that the firmament is circular, it's spherical, so that's good. They can hold on to that. But yeah, the idea, I'm going to break it down as simple as possible.
Okay.
If they can convince you that the Earth is 13 billion years old, it come out of the Big Bang, and we evolved from monkeys, there's no need for God. When you realize that the Earth is an enclosed system, there's a firmament over it, just like the Bible says, and that the sun and the moon are the exact same size, and that they circle the Earth, you're going to realize something intelligent put that here for life on this planet to flourish. And I'm telling you what it is, it's God. God created everything perfect on this planet. And by the way, the Earth don't move. The Earth don't rotate. Everything in the sky rotates around the Earth. Okay, and people don't understand what flat Earth is or why it's important. I'm telling you because as a Christian, you should know what God's creation looks like. And if you go to the Bible, over 5 times it says very clearly, this ain't the word of Bryce, this is the word of God, the earth shall not be moved. So I'm telling you, the earth don't spin, it don't rotate, it don't orbit. The earth is stationary, it's huge, it's covered by a dome. And all the things all the heavenly bodies, the sun, the moon, and the stars, which is actually differentiated in the Bible. NASA don't differentiate the sun and stars. They tell you that they're the same thing. The sun is not a star. The stars are not suns. Okay, I'm just telling you. That's why the stars twinkle and the sun don't. Okay, because they're totally different things. But anyways, all these heavenly bodies rotate around the earth, and the earth was made for the image of God, humans, to have domain over everything. And if they can convince you that we come from the Big Bang and the earth is 9 billion years old, that's all hogwash. But if they can convince you that, then you won't believe in God. It's that simple. I know because I thought we come from monkeys until I found out that evolution's all a scam. So basically the world is about 6,000 years old, just like the Bible says. And it has a firmament, just like the Bible says. And I mean,
let's go through a couple of things. Okay, so basic questions people will ask. I mean, I've gone through this with many friends, but we'll just kind of do it here together. So, okay, Bryce, so what happens if I drive to the end? Do I fall off? What's around it at the end, right? What does it look like physically? If you want to pull up the picture, Rob, we've seen the flat Earth model.
Yeah, let's see it.
If you can pull that up, which one would you want to?
Okay, so there's not space around it really like that, but that circular right there, that's what it is. But the sun and the stars, they're not like, it wouldn't look like that. They're in the firmament, but basically there's an ice wall. And it's illegal to drive to the edge, brother. I wish that we could, but we can't go to Antarctica legally. So basically there's an ice wall around the whole world, and we're not allowed to go to it, literally. If you went over there, they'd just arrest you. And that's because they don't want people to know that the world is surrounded by a 200-foot tall ice wall. And that's what we call Antarctica. So all of this stuff is really mind-blowing when you think about it, but it's important to know it.
How about when you talk to all these satellites, okay, and you go up and they take pictures? Hey, what does it look like? Many have been interviewed. I had one guy that I had on, and he had broke the record for living in space for the longest time. I mean, he lived 250-something days. What does it look like? It's round, okay? Satellites out there, maps, the way we can drive around is because of satellites. When you go You do MapQuest, or you do maps on Google Maps, or, Apple Maps. It's round. Satellites up there. That's how we're able to do what we do. What do you say to that when all these satellites out there in space helping us do a lot of things that we do?
Okay, so satellites, here's the thing, is that there are some satellites that are on balloons, and it's that simple. They hover up to about 120, 130,000 feet, and they're on balloons. That's why NASA is the #1 user of helium in the world. NASA controls 99% of the helium supply. What they're doing is they're taking satellites, filling up balloons with helium, and hooking satellites to these balloons. They float up about 120, 130,000 feet. That's as high as a balloon's going to go. Now, let me tell you the contrary. If you believe in satellites that they're actually in space, then you believe that there's about 50,000 or 100,000 satellites traveling around at 17,500 miles an hour. Now, a bullet don't even travel that fast. Do you really think, my brother, do you really believe that there are 50,000 satellites in space right now, 100 miles up in the air, traveling around the planet faster than a bullet? They don't need maintenance. They don't need a fuel source. There's no other proof of them other than NASA says that they're there. Do you really believe that? I'm telling you that nothing in the world can travel 20,000 miles an hour continuously with no fuel source. I'm telling you, we can't even get something to fly that fast, let alone do it with no fuel source, and they're not hitting into each other and blowing up. I mean, think about it. You're traveling 20,000 miles an hour. That's faster than a lot of bullets, okay? If you so much as hit a piece of dust, you're going to kaboom because of the speed at which you're going. So you're telling me that 100,000 or 50,000 satellites are in orbit 20,000 miles an hour and they haven't hit a piece of dust and they're not falling back to Earth all the time? No, brother, let me tell you the truth. These satellites are on balloons, and that's why you can go right now and you can pull up a video of a satellite with a balloon attached to it, because when these satellites crash back to Earth, they always have a balloon attached to them. So there is a little bit of satellites going on in the air. But like I said, they don't get no higher than 120, 130,000 feet, because that's where balloons stop floating because of density. Here's an experiment I want to tell you that absolutely proves that the Earth don't spin.
Rob, what is that? What are you showing?
This is a video of a satellite falling to the ground in Indonesia with a balloon attached.
Oh, maybe Bryce is right. Maybe I'm not a brain-dead, dumb hillbilly. Well, maybe I am, but I'm still right,
Keep going.
So let me tell you 100%. I can say with confidence, I'm not no scientist, no engineer, but I can tell you a simple experiment that you can undoubtedly prove the Earth don't spin. It involves a helicopter. I made this experiment up myself, okay? So you take a helicopter. Mm-hmm. You can get up to 15,000 feet. You can sit there and hover. You can hover at 0 miles an hour, literally not go an inch north, south, east, or west. So you hover this helicopter for 4-5 hours at 20,000 feet. Did you know that you can come right back down where you took off? Now think about the implications of that. That tells you that ground ain't moving. Now, a lot of people are going to say, they're idiots, but they're going to say, oh, well, Bryce, the helicopter has inertia. It has inertia, so the Earth is traveling 1,000 miles an hour. No, it's not. Okay, but Neil deGrasse Tyson is going to lie to you. He's of the devil. And Neil deGrasse Tyson is going to lie to you and say that the Earth is traveling 100,000 or 1,000 miles an hour. They're going to tell you the Earth spins 1,000 miles an hour. Okay, and so you can do this experiment even on the equator to make it even worse. Okay, where the spin is supposed to be the greatest. So you take that helicopter up in the air, you hover it for 4 or 5 hours at 15,000 feet, and you can go 0 miles an hour. You can go absolutely nowhere. Just hover and then come right back down on the same helicopter pad that you launched off of. Now, like I said, the critics are going to say, hey, well, Bryce, the helicopter has inertia. So when it takes off, it's already traveling 1,000 miles an hour. You just can't detect it. Well, here's what I've got to tell you. Have you ever run on a track? If me and you are equally fast and I run on the inside and you run on the outside of the track, who wins that race?
You.
Because I'm on the inside.
Sure.
Because the further you go out from the center of that circle, the more distance you have to travel to complete a circle. So what I'm telling you is when that helicopter goes up to 20,000 feet and it's sitting there hovering for 4 hours, not only does it have to spin 1,000 miles an hour, it has to spin more than 1,000 miles an hour to go back to the same spot that it landed. Because now the Earth would be not attached to that helicopter, and so it's in a different type of the rotation. It has to cover more distance to land in the same spot. You see what I'm saying? But how come I can get a helicopter and land in the same damn spot no matter how long I hover? Because the earth don't move, just like the Bible says. Wake up, Christians. Have discernment. You got to know that NASA is evil. That's why when you take NASA and add a T, it can spell the word Satan. Okay, that's why the NASA's logo is a serpent's tongue. Okay, because NASA is of the devil, and Christians, you got to have Holy Spirit. You got to have discernment. You got to know who the enemy is. And if you're sitting up here laughing at me because I'm telling you the truth, you're the problem. Christians should all know that NASA is full of shit. Every single Christian on this planet should be able to denounce NASA in the name of Jesus Christ. And if they can't, then they've been tricked by the enemy. And I'm not saying you lose your salvation, but when we get to heaven, you ain't going to be laughing at me, buddy. I'm going to be laughing at you. Okay, because I'm telling you right now that NASA's all lying. They're just trying to get you to where you don't believe in God. And that's why the lie of the round earth, the spinning earth that orbits the sun, that's where it comes into play.
Let me play this clip for you. Tell me what you think about this clip.
That's a serpent's tongue right there.
The flat earth theory in the last few days because of rapper B.O.B. and his beef with noted astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. B.O.B. declared to his Twitter followers that he believes the planet Earth is actually flat and that all the nations of the world have joined together in a massive conspiracy to cover up this fact. Here is how flat earthers believe the universe works. They believe the Earth is a flat disk which looks like this. The North Pole is at the center, with Antarctica forming an ice wall around the outer edges of the disk. This is why flat earthers believe the 1961 Antarctic Treaty was agreed upon by all the world's nations.
That's right.
So no one could reach the edge of the disk. They believe that this is the reason the UN uses this as their symbol. There's also a dome-like barrier called the firmament, which surrounds the disk. This is an impenetrable barrier that keeps the atmosphere intact. Flat earthers do not believe we have ever passed this barrier. According to flat earth theory, gravity does not exist. Instead, they believe in the universal acceleration, believing that all celestial bodies are accelerating upward at a rate of 9.8 meters per second squared.
I don't believe that.
They also believe that Earth is not actually spinning and provide counter evidence to disprove the rotation of the planet, such as the fact that clouds in the atmosphere are not moving at the rate of 1,000 miles per hour, the rate of the Earth's rotation. Flat earthers believe that when Copernicus theorized that the Earth moved around the sun, all of the world's religions decided to accept his theories, and rather than risk being questioned, the world's religions have a vested interest in furthering the Earth globe idea. In turn, flat earthers believe that all imagery from the space program has been faked. Some of the most common pieces of evidence are the lack of direct commercial flights between
moon
two
landing
cities
is all fake.
within the southern
Where's
hemisphere.
the stars?
Unfortunately, and we are talking to you, B.O.B., all of these theories don't explain why a ship disappears over the horizon bottom first.
A ship, I can debunk that too. Look, a ship don't disappear over the horizon bottom first. That's a 100% complete lie from Satan, and you can prove that with the Nikon P1000. You can take a ship that has vanished on the ocean, take a P1000, a camera that Nikon sells, and zoom in on that ship and completely see the whole body of the ship once it's out of range of visibility from the eye. So I can tell you right now that's a lie. If you think, oh, well, when a ship goes out in the ocean, it disappears bottom first. No, it don't. Use a P1000 and zoom in on it. You'll be able to see a ship that's not visible with the naked eye. Another thing that they was mentioning in there, there's so many things I have. Okay, for example, the picture of NASA with the moon landing. Where's all the stars in the background? You know? It's this simple. They can't fake the constellations. Okay, they cannot fake them, so they just chose rather just black it out and just say, oh, yeah, we can't see it because of the sunlight. Here's another thing. Do you see a picture of the Earth from the moon? Do you realize how fake that is? Because do you realize that the Earth is supposedly 6 times bigger than the moon, which in reality, it's a lot bigger than that. The Earth is huge and the moon's very small. But if you believe NASA, the picture of the Earth from the moon should be huge. Do you see what I'm saying? Look at the picture that NASA, look at that. Do you think that that's what the Earth would look like from the moon? Do you think that that's a real picture? You have to have discernment. When somebody's lying to this degree, they have an evil cause. There was one more thing I really want to bring up with this Earth spinning and the stars. For example, okay, here's another perfect example. I can prove to you that the Earth don't rotate. Did you know that the pyramids, the 3 pyramids over there, I believe it's in Giza, the Great Pyramids, they're in line with Orion's belt. I believe it is. The 3 stars that they're in line with, I believe, is Orion's belt. Now, I might be wrong, but my point is they're perfectly in line with 3 stars. They always have been. They always will be. Now, do you really think the universe is expanding? The Earth is spinning, and then we're orbiting the sun while spinning, and then our galaxy is traveling away from other galaxies? Guys, those stars have been perfectly aligned with those pyramids because the Earth don't move. You got to get that in your head. You got to know why they're lying. That's more important. I can sit here and tell you all day about, how they're lying, what tactics they're using. But when you understand why they're lying, then the enemy is exposed. They are lying so you don't accept the Bible, because the Bible says the earth shall not be moved. The Bible says that the sun and the moon and the stars were made. It doesn't say that the sun is a star and that the stars are a sun. It differentiates. And I'm telling you, the Bible is the oldest flat earth document that there ever was. And so they want people to not believe the Bible.
So, okay, on the moon landing, we had, who's the guy that we had on, Rob, on the moon landing stuff? We had a guy on. He's the guy that got punched in the face.
Bart Sibrel?
Bart Sibrel, yes. Have you ever heard of Bart Sibrel or not?
Was it not Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin punched him?
Yes.
Yeah, because he won't put his hand on that Bible.
That's right.
And swear on the word of God that he went to the moon, because Buzz Aldrin knows that he's lying. And Buzz Aldrin lies to kids. He's a coward. Neil Armstrong or Lance Armstrong, whoever.
Not Lance Armstrong, because Lance Armstrong.
That was the Tour de France guy.
He's a Tour de France guy. He just got him off. Lance, we're not saying you landed on the moon or not. You're safe.
Yeah, you're safe, brother.
Yeah. So go to on the moon landing podcast we did. I came home. I've never seen my dad talk about moon landing. He's an 82-year-old man. At the time, he was 80. He's like, I don't believe it. I think the man is right. There's no way. How is it even possible? I'm like, Dad, you're 80 years old. This is what you're thinking about. I said, no. he made very good points, and this is, he just wanted to talk about it for weeks. Now you're going to mess him up. Now my dad's going to watch this.
I hope he listens, please. I hope your father listens.
Oh, my God.
That would be such an honor if your family is listening to this.
My dad is a man of faith in a big way. But okay, so the treaty. We know about the treaty. That's when Hitler was fascinated with Antarctica, and he went on a 4,500 man mission. I don't know. I don't know if he went on we went on a. He went first, and we went on a 4,700 man mission to see what's going on there, and then eventually, it turned into the treaty that they put together. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if the Earth is flat and you have binoculars, and I can go in a distance, shouldn't I be able to see what's at the end?
Well, oxygen ain't invisible. You see what I'm saying? There's always a barrier of the atmosphere. So literally oxygen, it ain't invisible. There's some degree of tint that oxygen provides. So you can't just see an infinite amount of distance with all this oxygen in front of you. You see what I'm saying? The debris and the oxygen, all the gases, they're not invisible. So you can only see so far because all of this atmosphere.
Okay, so now you're saying you can't go to the end of the earth if it's flat? Why can't you go to it?
Well, it's not legal, but you can go, like, for example, Admiral Byrd. He is a guy who I completely trust. He died shortly after testifying that he went past the ice wall.
Sure.
And when I say the ice wall is the end of the earth, that's as far as I know. But I know that there's an ice wall. I just don't know what's past it. I think that they could even go past it. But a guy named Admiral Byrd, he said, I flew to Antarctica. Mm-hmm. It was ice. It's the ice wall. He saw the ice wall, and then he kept flying past it. And there was more land past the ice wall. And he said it's the greenest grass he ever seen. So they might actually be hiding land past Antarctica, which Antarctica is a ring of ice. But here's something to think about. The firmament, it's the shape of a rainbow. How else are you going to explain all rainbows have that curvature? There's nothing. We all know that if you take a flat prism and you shine light into it, you get a straight rainbow that comes out of it. Okay, so how is there a curved rainbow in the sky? What's it reflecting off of to give it that curve? And not only give it a curve, but every single time you see a rainbow, it's the same shape. I'm telling you, that's a reflection off the firmament. The firmament is in the shape of a dome. So on the other side of the firmament, there's waters above, and it separates the waters below. And that's right out of Genesis. This stuff, it don't lead to your salvation. Only worshiping Jesus Christ leads to your salvation. But what I'm telling you is that kids ain't going to have a chance. They're going to be taught in these public schools that the earth is 9 billion years old, that we come from monkeys, and that the earth spins around the sun. That's heliocentrism. I'm telling you, it's geocentrism. All the planets, all the stars, and all the heavenly lights, the moon and the sun, they rotate around the earth. And so that's what I'm going to teach my kid when he's homeschooled. Now, yeah, I'm going to also introduce him to this evolution. I'm going to tell my kid, look, you can believe evolution if you want, but here's what it is. I'm going to tell him, look, you can believe we came from monkeys if you want. That's what and I'm going to even teach my kid who Neil deGrasse Tyson is. I'm going to teach my kid who Elon Musk is. I'm going to introduce my kid to all these evil, psychopathic liars, because I want him to have his own discernment. I want people to do their own research, and don't take my word for it. I'm just telling you what I know is the truth. I'm not telling you to trust me. Go do your own research, and if you do your own research and you want to research the truth, you will come back to Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ is the truth.
Brother, who knows of powerful people? If your position, flat earth, okay, of all the powerful people we have, presidents, political people, billionaires, who knows the earth is flat, according to your theories?
I think any of them that are pledged Freemasons, any of those high-level Freemasons, the Freemasons know it. It's a fact. All Freemasons, when they get to that higher level, they know that the earth is flat. So all of these Skull and Bones members, for example, Kerry, Bush, anybody...
John Kerry.
Yeah, any of these people at Skull and Bones, they're in on it, bro. They know. They've been revealed. They worship Satan. That's it. If they're Skull and Bones, they know. Now, not all of them, but a lot of these people really know. And earlier we pulled up the United Nations logo. Mm-hmm. It's a flat Earth map. You can't make this stuff up. They're putting it right in our faces, and they're deceiving our kids. But like I said, it's important to know, why would they lie about all this stupid stuff? Because they do anything to get your kid away from Jesus Christ. They don't. The Satan wants to bring everybody he can to hell with him.
Now, let's talk Trump. Okay. Did you watch a debate between President Trump and Biden?
I watched parts of it, yes, sir.
Okay. How impressed were you by President Biden?
Well, he's god-awful. I mean, I'm the opposite of impressed with him. Like I said, he's a pedophile. He's the worst of the worst. But I honestly don't think he's pulling the strings. I think that there's people telling him what to do, but yeah, I really don't like him.
Did you see, Rob, the clip? There's a clip I saw which I thought is very weird. I'm gonna show it tomorrow on the pod, but I want to show it since we're sitting here with Bryce. I thought this was kind of weird. I'll text it to you, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Mm-hmm. And then, hang on one second, Rob, if you can pull this up.
Was he acting like a robot or something?
Yeah, this was kind of weird, because a lot of people were saying at one moment, while the President Trump is speaking, he just frozen. He's kind of looking down like this, as if he's listening to something in his ears, and he fixes his ear. Watch this clip here. Little weird. Go ahead, Rob.
During the debate, this guy and his wife noticed something really weird in Joe Biden's audio. Check this out.
I swear to God, I heard someone say something.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner.
Oh my God.
So I wanted to take a deeper look at it, so I brought it into Ableton so we could look at the part in between the words, when this is over, and we'll see. And you can see right here, there's actually some audio. It sounds like somebody's actually speaking and telling Joe what to say. So let's enlarge that and take a listen. Let's see. So you can see right here, somebody's telling Joe what to say.
Let's see. You're a whiner.
Oh my God.
And this is not to sway you in either way, but this is just showing you a discovery that was made. But what do you guys think? Was Joe being fed lines while he was doing the debate?
What do you think? Do you think there's a likelihood that that's possible, that he was being fed lines?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I think he could have been told what to say and actually had a live mic or earpiece or something. I mean, they rigged the whole first election to think they wouldn't cheat in a debate, you know. But here's something interesting about that Joe Biden. If you pull up a picture of him from like the 80s, have you seen that?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
his nose is different and his ears are different.
Yeah.
So if you have an attached earlobe, which I got an attached earlobe, it's not a dangler. If you got a dangler, I mean, it's never going to change. You either have attached earlobes or they dangle. So I'm telling you, that guy right there, he's not the same guy. Look at the earlobes. You see what I'm saying? One's attached and one dangles. And I honestly think that guy in that picture is not the same as that guy in that picture. I think they done killed him off.
Maybe he did surgeries. I mean, a lot of these guys do surgeries, Bryce.
They could have killed him off. They could have cloned him. Okay, and I'll say, you know what? It could be surgeries.
Yeah.
There's not always a crazy explanation, but more likely not. They probably killed him or cloned him.
If President's wife is watching, she would say you're delusional because she said he crushed it. You know, maybe you're just seeing it. You're a little bit too leaning towards the President Trump, that you didn't see the greatness in President Biden, because even Mark Cuban had good things, and Mark Cuban's a pretty wealthy guy. You know, where he sees talent, and he says he trusts President Biden as a president to lead more than he does with Trump. Are you in a similar position of Mr. Mark Cuban?
Oh, no, brother. He'll lead us straight to the gates of hell is where he'll lead us. I'm telling you, that man is infested with demons. He's one of the worst of the worst. And here's...
You're saying President Biden?
President Biden's one of the worst of the worst. And here's how I know this. I don't have to think. It's because we've caught him sniffing kids. And I got to reiterate on that. When you sniff a kid that's not yours and you smell their hair multiple times, that is something that only a pedophile would do. You know, and I grew up, I only really knew 2 pedophiles growing up, and both of them got caught. But before both of them got caught, I had my suspicions. One was a teacher. She would hug the football players for a really, really long time. Well, guess what? And those football players was 12 years old. Well, guess what? She was banging a 12-year-old dude, and she got sent to prison.
No shit.
Yeah, 5 years later, after I had her science class, 5 years later, she's in prison. But
you were in the 12-year-old, though. These are other 12-year-olds.
Nope, wasn't me.
I just want to verify if the teacher's watching right now from jail.
Yeah, no, it wasn't me, but I've seen her hugging kids, and I thought, you know what, something ain't right about that, and I never forgot it. I never told nobody because I didn't want people to think, you know, oh, well, Bryce, you're weird for watching that behavior. So I never said anything.
What was the second one?
Second one was a neighbor. We went to play football at his house. There was an uneven number of players. It was like 4 on 5. So the kid's dad, who we were playing in his yard, the kid's dad come out and said, hey, y'all need an extra player. And we said, yeah, we need to play 5 on 5. So kid's dad comes into play. Now, he's on the opposite team of his son. He tackled his son. Do you know what a teabag is?
Teabag from the Army days, yes.
Yeah, it's where you put your nuts in somebody's face. You know, it's something that you would do to your friends if you're like that, if you're gross like that. You know, I could see other dudes doing it. One time a dude did it to me in basketball. I was bench pressing and a guy come teabag. He just sat on my face. You know, I was bench pressing. I couldn't move. I was like, you son of a bitch. But I'm not going to lie. I've been teabagged, okay? But a teabag... So, you know, a teabag is something that you would only do to somebody that you kind of know. I mean, that you definitely know, okay? That's a friend that you know would forgive you. And here's another thing, too. You don't never teabag somebody who's smaller than you, because that's straight up, that's not just bullying, that's like rape, you know? So you do it to somebody who you're familiar with, who's your own size, who can defend themselves. So you're not picking on them. It's a joke. Or it's not funny if you do it. So this guy, he tackles his own son and teabags him. And me and my friend was looking at each other like, I've never seen an adult teabag a kid, let alone their own kid.
Yeah.
And so guess what? 5 years later, might have been 10. It was a little bit longer on him. Prison. Molesting his own children.
No shit.
2 times. Only 2 times have I sensed a pedophile. Both pedophiles caught and in prison about 5 to 10 years later.
You get the same vibe with Joe.
I'm telling you, I know he's a pedophile. I know it. I don't have to think it. When you sniff a child's hair that ain't yours and do it repeatedly, he's a kid sniffer. He's a pedophile. And I know it because I've lived life. I have experiences. And guess what? You can find out all these silly videos of me. You ain't never going to find a video of me sniffing a kid's hair because I'm not a pedophile. Pedophiles sniff kids' hairs. Okay, and so
it's just a weird thing to do. You know, now that you're really getting into it, you know
it is.
Sniffing is, and then what's the one thing he said? He says they put their hand in my thigh and felt the hair. What was the line that, I mean?
Oh, they felt the blonde leg hairs in the swimming pool.
Who made him think that's a good idea to campaign on that? Like, I mean, it's a little weird to see what some of the things he talks about. Your experience, have you met President Trump before?
I've never met him. He was at my last fight, which is terrible because I got knocked out so quick. But
which fight?
It was the Emmett fight.
He was at the Emmett fight.
Brother, I seen him. I stared right at him. We made eye contact right before the fight. Absolutely. And so he was there, but man, I didn't get to. I was so jacked up. I just woke up in the hospital, so I didn't get to shake his hand.
Was that the worst you've ever been hit? Like, have you ever been hit harder than that?
No, not even close. I've been kicked in the head, and it wasn't even that hard. You know, I mean, that was. I was going into that punch. You know, that was a hard.
Oh,
punch.
That was hard to watch, by the way, when it happened. You're like, oof. Every once in a while, I was at the fight with. Manny Pacquiao was going against Marquez. I don't know if you watched this fight or not. I think it was Marquez. And Manny, sitting with his family, wife is there, family's there. We're there with the whole pastor. Dudley Rutherford took us to the fight because they were going to the same church. And Manny's coming in and boom, he gets hit in the neck. He drops. He's not getting up, but his body's shaking. Mm-hmm. Oh my! Watching his wife react was very difficult because she thought he was dead. And
absolutely.
Yeah, when watching, that's the part of the fight game, man. You see it, you know, what you guys do to put yourself on the line when you get into that octagon. Did it ever mess you up to not want to get in there again?
No.
You're good.
No, I know that I'm going to be redeemed, and it's going to prove me just like Job was proven. You know, Job had all these trials, and some of them were pretty much all under circumstances he couldn't control. And but Job, his faith persevered, and that's what I think is going to happen to me. I think I'm going to be redeemed in the name of Jesus Christ, and my faith is going to be made stronger, and it's going to be proven.
And what's the soonest you're thinking you're going to fight?
So I can fight right now if I need to. I mean, I'm ready. I'm
ready.
100% healed.
Well. Look, man, I like watching you fight. I like watching you talk. Hey, the part that makes you very entertaining and attractive is the sense of the surprise, the unknown. Nobody has a clue what you're going to say. It is so unpredictable that there's a showmanship to that gift that you have, right? So on one end, you're a true believer, you're a patriot, you fear God, you want his favor, you got his favor, and then on the other side is the shit-talking, entertaining, fun, great storyteller, makes for a great combination. I don't know many guys that are, you know, I would put Strickland there as well. I think Strickland's got.
I'm wearing his shirt right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't you think it's strange that I like Strickland so much and that we like each other? I'm always messaging him. Like, isn't it crazy that our personalities just led us to be friends?
Yeah.
This is his shirt right here.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
But what a cool shirt.
It says his name on the back.
Oh, I didn't see the back. Oh, okay, there you go. Strickland 2024. Yeah, he's another one of those guys.
Love that guy.
Yeah, dude, I can watch him as well. Just a raw guy, a guy that you can. By the way, we were talking earlier about 303, right? Alex Pereira. We're talking about the whole fight. Who would you like to see him fight? Do you think there will ever come a time where maybe he moves up and we see him and John Jones type of a fight, or no?
Well, I think that John Jones he's had so many fights. He's at the end of his career that fight probably won't happen with John Jones. Just because now 5 years ago it could have happened, but I just think that John Jones is pretty much retired, or maybe only has one fight left with somebody who's not as competitive as Pereira. I think the best fight for Pereira right now, if he stays at 205, would be somebody like Blachowicz. Blachowicz is very durable, and he does a totally different skill set than Pereira, because all these other guys that Pereira are fighting, they all have the same skill set, but they haven't as Pereira. You know, they're all knockout guys. I don't think you need to put him in there with the knockout guy. I think you need to put him in there with the toughest wrestler you can find, and that's
test him.
Yeah, and test him with something new, because he's just going to keep knocking out all these other kickboxers. You know,
that one. Which fight was it? 2 fights ago. He gets kicked, ref comes, he waves him off, he kind of goes like this, and then boom, left hook, done. fun guy to watch fight. Anyways, Bryce, great having you on. What is there anything you want the audience to do to support you? Is there anything you're working on right now that you want them to go to?
Well, my buddy, his dad just possibly had a stroke. Something happened to him. His name is Kidron Cannon, my buddy. His dad, Phil Cannon, is probably in the hospital right now. I don't even know if he's responsive, but I just got this text before I came on. So if you'll just pray in the name of Jesus Christ that Phil Cannon is healed. If you'll do that, I don't even care if you believe in Jesus. If you just pray in the name of Jesus that for me, that's what I'd like.
That's why you're loved.
Amen, brother. Love you too, brother.
This was absolutely insane, man.
Yes,
this was
thank you so much,
fantastic.
man.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. By the way, Bryce Mitchell is officially on my neck, so if you got any questions, you want to FaceTime with him, have a call with him, maybe even see what he's got going on in his backyard, you can connect Bryce Mitchell. This is his QR code. Ask him any question about today's podcast. Some tells me he's going to give you an entertaining response. Rogan, Musk, Jones, a bunch of people watch these guys in videos dressed up, walking around from the Patriot Front with this guy named Thomas Russo. They look like feds. Are they feds? Are you with the feds? Is this manipulation? Why has the FBI been following this guy who's 25 today? FBI started following him at 17 years old and walking around saying he's America first. But there was one point in the first part of the interview, you're going to learn a lot about the guy. Second part of the interview, I ask one question, one suggestion, and he got triggered. You will see it when this happens, and you will definitely learn what they're for, his views on Trump, how weird it is, and his views with others. You're definitely going to learn what the founder, Thomas Russo, of Patriot Front is all about.
31 members of the Patriot Front were found in the back of a U-Haul and arrested for conspiracy to riot at a Portland fight event.
One of the Texans arrested is Thomas Russo.
Thomas Russo on your screen there, along with over 24 other members of the Patriot Front, the group with matching clothes, riot gear, and shields, believed they were en route to riot at the Pride event. Other members were found guilty of their respective charge and received 5 days in jail, a fine, and were banned from Coeur d'Alene parks.
So just a couple weeks ago, we saw this clip of a group of people representing an organization called Patriot Front, led by a man named Thomas Russo. And this video went viral. If we can play this clip. This is in D.C. This is I think this was May 13th. This thing got 11 million views. And they're marching. A lot of people started asking questions. Why are these guys wearing a mask? Can we find out more about the founder? Are these guys tied to the Fed? Is this a Fed thing that they're just kind of trying to manipulate to make it seem like folks who are voting for Trump are part of white nationalists? And this is ran by a leader who is known for his role as Patriot Front, a white nationalist and neo-fascist organization in the U.S. Now, we've read this many different places. So this prompted a couple different people to react to it. Rob, if you can go to the bottom of the comment section on one of the other tweets where Elon Musk responded. So here's them. If you show the clip at the top first. Wall Street Silver, the fact that the legacy media shows zero curiosity about unmasking these guys tells us 100% that these are federal agents or paid stooges of one of the agencies. The media has been instructed by the FBI or to just report that Patriot Front exists, white supremacy, et cetera, again, pinning this against Trump. Ian Chung asked the question, does a phenomenal job himself. What's the deal with these Patriot Front guys' vehicles? Their license plates are completely blank. Good question. On the bottom, Elon Musk asked the question, seems like they should be followed and unmasked. Why doesn't the media or government care about their identities? Go a little lower. Even Alex Jones responds saying, if you look into the group they came out of the events of Charlottesville 2017, the former leader admitted to working for the Obama campaign. I'm going to do a report on this. Anyways, this leads to even Joe talking about this on a podcast. You can play this clip.
You're telling me the FBI is not monitoring fringe groups?
Can you raise the audio a
We're
little
not
bit?
aware these people are
Okay, there we
fucking
go.
organized. Out of nowhere, they pop out with the same size flags and the same outfit on, goose stepping. They're walking, not goose stepping, but walking in this at the same pace in a fucking orderly line. Like who organized this?
This is them on their bus. I thought this was going to turn into the video of them walking.
See the video of them walking. Is that the video of them walking?
Like these are linking to blog posts. So it's not going to
Fast forward a little bit, Rob, to see what he's looking at.
How come they're all wearing the same clothes? Look at these guys. Where's the fat people? How come they're all wearing the same clothes? Do that again. What the fuck is this? Have you ever seen anything that looks more like feds? Tell me that doesn't look like feds.
You're asking a good question.
Right?
A lot of people are asking the same question.
Bro, look at this. These guys are all runners.
Okay,
These guys
now
look like they
go
just
to the
got out
next
of
one,
buds.
Rob, where there's a clip of them going to the train, and then cops are standing right in front. We could play this clip right there, Rob. You had it. And then, so that's them going away. Get all the way at the top. At the escalator, there's cops here preventing people from going down. Why are they being protected by the cops? Anyways, I got a few other things. I just have a lot of questions. And so we reached out to the founder, Thomas Rousseau. And, he's been, based on the things you read, he's been followed and I don't even know, this is 2017, the FBI, who was on the FBI watch list. I think it's 2017 or 2016. It was early on as a young man.
In high school.
Yeah, in high school, he was being watched to see what he's going to be up to. And you've said a lot of interesting things. Number one, I was surprised that you said yes. So obviously you'll answer all this stuff. A lot of people want to know. My question for you is, why did you agree to do this interview?
I agreed to do the interview because it seemed like a great opportunity to clear the air about a lot of these things. There are a lot of these misconceptions, and you see, when you have a lot of the explanations on something which is very new, a lot of people do not know about Patriot Front. And when we do these big marches, one of the chief, the ends of the march is to inform a lot of people about what Patriot Front is, and during that realization process, you have a lot of confusion. But when we actually are able to sit down or able to have a conversation, you're a huge proponent of free speech.
Mm-hmm.
You're a huge proponent of people who love America.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we are extremely in common in those two things. Maybe we have a lot of differences about other things, but we believe in speaking. We believe in rational
For
discourse.
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, this was a great opportunity to be able to clear the air and help.
Okay. What do you think about Joe Rogan, Elon Musk? What do you think about Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, and Alex Jones?
What do I think about them personally? Or
Yeah, just what do you think about them and what they've said and what they stand for, generally?
So as far as Alex Jones, I think he has a lot of interesting theories about the world, and I think he's right about a lot of things. I think he is wrong about a few things, and one of them being Patriot Front.
Okay.
He even said when we were doing a march in Austin, he said that we were going around harassing children of color or something to that effect, which is not true. And Alex Jones should know that as somebody who a lot of people have said things about which are not true himself. But I have a lot of respect for any man who stands up in the political space and has a lot of slings and arrows thrown at him, especially for the ends of free speech. Elon Musk, in the same way, Patriot Front is still banned on Twitter. I myself am still banned on Twitter, but I do believe Elon Musk has done something to enhance the amount of free speech on Twitter, and you could say he's interesting as an entrepreneur. I'm not a businessman. I watch some of your content about the EVs, but I'm not qualified to speak on those matters, but Elon Musk, I think it's interesting in the realm of free speech and in business. Thirdly, Joe Rogan, I think he's an excellent entertainer, and in that clip, I believe if it was allowed to play a little bit longer, he does clarify he's not an authoritative source on this. He is an entertainer, and this is just his off-the-hip comments, and I even think it's a little bit complimentary, him pointing out how there's no fat people, because I'll take it, if that's the only thing about us.
So listen, man. So how well? What are the benefits package of the feds? Like, how well do they pay you, man? Like, is there like
they don't pay me?
They don't pay you?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm not a federal agent.
Okay.
I am not being paid by anybody, and actually a lot.
Why do you think so many people that are trusted don't believe you?
I think it is partly astroturfed. I think because it is so convenient. Because when we do these big things, we are presented to millions of new people because it is a spectacle when we go on march, when we have the drums and the banners and the uniforms and the masks. It is engineered to be something which is spectacular. It is very out of the ordinary, and people watch it. And it's very easy for a lot of conservatives, I believe, not the ones here, but a lot of conservatives to dismiss us by saying that's not real. It's fake. You don't have to engage with these people. You don't have to engage with their ideas. You don't have to engage with the fact that the political landscape might be bigger than you previously thought. So it's an argument of convenience that they are also, a lot of people are worried about guilt by association because the left throws around words like white nationalist and neo-fascist, and I haven't called myself those things, but the left throws around these labels wantonly. And a lot of people decide, okay, well, I'm going to stay away from anybody the left labels with those things. But the thing is, these aren't real definitions. These are insults. They're labels to censor and silence people. When they call you racist, when they call you a Nazi, when they call you all these things. And it's a lot easier for some people to say, hey, I'm not a racist. Those guys aren't even real. As opposed to saying, hey, these are patriots, these are nationalists. They may not be like me. They may not agree with me on everything.
Yeah, but that's different, though. You're saying the left. Musk had a meeting with Trump the other day.
Well, Musk wasn't using those terms exactly.
No, I know, but Musk doesn't trust you and your camp based on what he's saying. Like, hey, let's investigate these guys. Joe Rogan is a very reasonable guy. I agree. Guy that's, and some may even from the left are sitting there saying, why would Alex Jones criticize you and say you were tied to Obama? And one of your founders was, doing stuff with Obama campaign.
I know what he's talking about.
Tell me.
So Alex Jones is familiar with Charlottesville, and I believe what he's talking about is one of the organizers of Charlottesville, Jason Kessler, did publicly work for the Obama campaign at some point years before. But I have never worked for the Obama campaign. You can search for a million years. You'll never find a single statement of me ever supporting Obama. And Alex Jones said he'll release a report on that matter in a week or two. I don't think it ever...
I think if he sees this, he will react to the same. So Jason Kessler, I just pulled it up, is an American neo-Nazi white supremacist anti-Semitic.
I've never worked with him directly.
You've never worked with him directly?
No.
So you guys have never spoken, never done anything together, no communication?
We spoke at various times at Charlottesville. Off and on.
So what do you and him agree on, you and Jason Kessler?
I do not know the man personally. I don't have a list. He has changed his beliefs several times throughout his political career, to the best of my knowledge.
When's the last time you spoke to him? Like, is there an allegiance there where you guys get on?
No, there is not.
When's the last time you guys had communication?
Years.
Okay, got it. So let's set that one aside. So let's go to...
But that's where I think the Obama fact is coming from.
Okay, so again, this is the great thing about asking questions. The audience can go do their own due diligence and people can react to it. Let me continue. So your position, I'm reading some of the stuff that you've said. An African may have lived, worked, and even been classed as a citizen in America for centuries, yet he is not American, okay?
Yes.
He is, as he likely prefers to be labeled, an African in America. The same rule applies to others who are not of the founding stock of our people or do not share the common unconscious that primates throughout our greater civilization and the European diaspora. The American identity was something uniquely forged in the struggle that our ancestors waged to survive in the new continent, not simply by birth, by one granted this title, but by the degree to which he works and fulfills the potential of his birth. So what do you think, like, if you were to break down what you believe in, do you want America to be a place where it's all white nationalists and nobody else that's not a white nationalist will be here? Would that be an ideal situation for you?
Not necessarily, and I believe that might be a bit of a leading question. But when you're talking about that statement in particular, and it is from an older version of the manifesto, it has been updated and clarified. But when you look at different groups in America, blacks have been very much culturally, economically, socially, and even legally distinct from what we call white Americans, or I simply refer to as Americans, for the entire history of this country. And from the 1600s to the 2020s, there are groups in this country that are very distinct. And when I say American, I'm not referring to purely as a citizen, but I'm referring to a member of the American nation, which I believe is a cultural, as an ethnic group, just like Iranian, just like a member of any country from Europe. But I believe we should treat the native, true-born population of America in the same way that other countries are purely allowed to recognize that somebody from this country has a unique cultural background. And this isn't to say that blacks are not here, that they do not have a unique culture on this continent. It is simply to say that they are so distinct, both racially, economically, socially. Segregation still exists de facto today. Many communities are largely one or another population. I believe these differences are so distinct that we ought to consider them as different nations, perhaps within the same government.
Okay, so what does that really mean? Going back to my question.
Sure.
I'm from Iran. Okay. My mother's Armenian. My dad's Assyrian. I came here in November 20, 1990. June 20th of 1999, I become a U.S. citizen. I joined the Army with a green card, okay? What do you consider me? Do you see me as an American or do you see me as an Iranian?
I would think you are a citizen. You are legally and civically a part of the United States, and I would classify you as a good citizen. You are a businessman. You have brought a lot of value to the country. However, I would say that you are distinct from an American. And I am not somebody who believes that everybody who is not American is by default worse than. I don't put the world into that kind of hierarchy. But I believe there is a distinction there. And when you're talking about, what I would want to do, I think immigration should be restricted. I think all of the illegals should be sent home. I think anybody who lied about their naturalization status in order to get it unlawfully should be sent home. Like Tucker Carlson, you spoke with him recently. He mentioned how everybody with a dual passport should have to choose. Things like that are a great start, and I think you would really be able to help demographically secure the country. But are we asking, should the United States have anybody within its borders in any civic capacity, which is not a national, which is not a true cultural, assimilated person? I think there is some room for that, and I think there's some room for that in a lot of reasonable governments. But what we're talking about today, or what we're talking about in the country today, is the fact that should these globalist policies be allowed to completely transform the cultural and demographic landscape of the country? And I believe that would make it something entirely different.
So my sons, their mother is white. Their mother's white. She was born in Texas, Houston, Texas. Their dad is Middle Eastern. What are my kids? Are they American?
I would say they are half and half.
So if they're not born here to you, they're not American. If they're not, so what do I have to be fully American in your eyes?
You personally?
Anybody.
So an American, I believe, is a member of the European race, any of the nations of the European race. And they not only, you aren't American simply by being a member of the European race. You have to have lived in America and assimilated to the American culture, the American heritage, which is harder to do nowadays because our culture has been so diluted. Things have been made much less sincere, I believe, when we look back at our history. So somebody not only a member of the European people, but also specifically a member of the who has assimilated to the American nation, just like anybody might assimilate.
Got it. So have you done ancestry on your family?
Yes.
And what showed up? What came up for you?
I have ancestors from both my mother's and my father's side that go back to the 1700s before the Revolution.
And where do they come from?
Scotland, Britain, and I have some French and German ancestry as well.
Was it 100% Scotland, Britain, and was there anything from the Middle East at all?
No, not that I know of. No.
0% from anything else?
Entirely European. Yeah.
So for you, ideally, let me go back to it, because on another article, when you're talking about the Patriot Front's propaganda tactics and dissemination methods. Let me just read this to you. This is an article written about you. You can react to it. So Patriot Front prioritizes the dissemination of propaganda as a core feature of its organizational activity. Here are some of the key tactics and methods they use. Physical propaganda dissemination. Members are required to participate in physical propaganda dissemination and attend public events as a condition of membership. This could involve distributing flyers, posters, and stickers in public places. Okay, cool. Online presence. The group maintains a careful public image with propaganda and public activity intentionally void of overt racism and hateful conduct. This sanitized public image allows for a wider reach to others who may be sympathetic to the worldview. Okay. 3, professionalism and publicity. The organization places significant emphasis on professionalism, publicity, and membership growth. Okay, next one, recruitment. Patriot Front quietly recruits new members who are worried about a nation overrun by immigrants and a world controlled by loose. Their propaganda acts as a funnel to more extreme organizations and ideologies through their online presence and organizational affiliation. You can obviously dispute that, but it says recruits quietly. So I'll come back to this. Intimidation and vandalism. The group engages in a mix of vandalism, intimidation, and to foster anxiety. They use attention-grabbing techniques like igniting smoke bombs during demonstrations and protests. Secrecy. Patriot Front communicates secretly and avoids talking about guns or violence online. This is done in an effort to avoid attracting negative publicity and government intervention. Which of these do you think is inaccurate about your organization?
So they say that we use colored smoke at demonstrations or banner drops to instill anxiety or fear. That's a ridiculous point. You'll find photographers using colored smoke for attention-grabbing photos. It's the same reason we do it. They're entirely harmless. And Private communications are so that we can hide things from the world? No. Your company here, I don't imagine every communication between all of your employees is public. You can't look that up on Twitter. When you're talking about recruiting members quietly, I don't know how we would.
How do you recruit them? Where do you recruit the guys from? Where do you find them?
We have a website, and people find the organization on any of our publications, or they see us in person, or a lot of networking in person happens. There's a lot of peer-to-peer contacts. And they will contact us. They will submit an application. There will be an email process, and then they will go through our membership process, which is somewhat proprietary because we do take vetting very seriously. We do take security very seriously. But that article, it was written by somebody who does not think highly of the organization.
Of course, I get that. No, I totally get that. So if I wanted to go to apply for the application, is this the way to go through it, or what's...
That would be the page, yes.
And is it a list of questions that I'm going through, or what's the... Or is there like a face-to-face interview that eventually ends up happening?
There's multiple stages, yes. There is the application page, and as you would fill it out, more things appear.
Are you asking me questions in the interview process, or no?
There are questions, there's in-person things.
But in here, what kind of questions would you ask me?
So,
can you, Rob, just put it in there? Let's kind of go through. I'm curious to know what the questions are.
Yeah, so you have your email. That's so we can contact you.
Would you describe your political beliefs?
Yep.
Do you live a healthy lifestyle that includes regular exercise? Okay.
You can tell a lot about a person.
Sure, yeah. Have you described your religious beliefs? Okay. What are you looking for there? Mainly, are you looking for a specific faith, or faith is not the key?
It tells you a lot about somebody, so it is a general, very good conversation starter. Most all of the organization is Christian or other traditional European faiths. We do not permit members who are Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim,
You do not.
Judaic. We believe that would come into conflict with our sort of America First principles of wanting a very native-born ideology.
Fair enough. So why do you want to join? What are you looking for here?
Yeah, well, it really depends on the person, because it's somewhat open-ended, because I want to find out what somebody is interested in. Sometimes people say, "Oh, well, I want to join because I want to go get people," or whatever, and okay, trash, right? Somebody says, "I want to join because I want to help people. I want to join because I feel alienated due to my political ideology. I want to join because I've seen y'all slandered in the media, and I feel like that's unjust," right? And some people join just out of spite due to what the media says about us. Some people join genuinely because they have a deep attachment to the country. They have a deep attachment to the traditions of America, and they see Patriot Front as one of the more preeminent organizations showcasing a very traditional American view of patriotism. Again, there's many different examples.
What skills do you have to benefit the organization? Activism. So you value activism, planning an organization, video editing, outdoorsmanship.
We're looking at where somebody's coming from.
Okay.
What kind of skills?
Activism is kind of like Okay.
If somebody's previously been involved in an activist organization, perhaps. Yeah.
How did you hear about us? News, sticker, stencil, flyer, demonstration, community outreach, social media? Okay. Have you read the manifesto and reviewed our updated page?
Or the updates page where we talk about our actions and various things. And the question being the manifesto there is it's kind of a good hint that somebody should go read it if they haven't already.
If I put yes, does it open up for more options? Or
no, that will be the full.
So that's the end of it. So this gets sent into you from here.
It gets sent in to people who manage them, yes.
Got it. And it's from there. What is the recruitment process? What's the next phase?
Well, then we talk with people, digitally, and we have a whole script that we go through. We ask them a lot more about themselves. We ask them a lot more about their ideology, about their character, because character and morality is very important. We're not just an organization that recruits, we think you're American. We think you're one of us ethnically and culturally, so you're good to go. No, we select for men of character, men of good conduct, men who are disciplined enough to be in an organization with rules and with security and with practices upon which there are stakes. And after that, there could be several in-person meetings, which are variable depending on what we've learned in the process so far and where you might be going and what local representatives you might be speaking to.
How did you learn how to do this? Who taught you these tactics?
Well, I got started in political organizing, on the sort of, it could be called the right-wing fringe. I don't like reducing things into purely left and right, but, the nationalist politics, I started organizing at 17, 18, and Patriot Front is a result of 7 straight years of adaptation and evolution and A/B testing. Because, like you've gone through many different jobs and business ventures in your life, Patriot Front has gone through many iterations, many updates to its structures. Because what Patriot Front is doing in its particular realm of politics, when I showed up, I was fresh out of high school, there was not a handbook written out. There weren't all the rules. Nobody was there to say, hey, don't do this because this is going to happen to you. And we have had to find out a lot of things the hard way, but we do really well in trying to find out mistakes before we make them. Because, you're familiar with the violent tactics of anarchists and Antifa, and you're familiar with people online who will try to find somebody's identity and use it to destroy their lives. There's a few videos that have gone viral of, somebody who the left and the internet thinks has done some racist thing, and they get millions of views, their life gets turned upside down, they get kicked out of college, all those things. So there's a lot of security matters that come into place there, and we've had to build that up over time.
Have you ever had conversations or communication with the FBI?
No.
Have you ever met with the FBI?
No.
Why'd you think about it?
Well, I was wondering if at any point in our marches in Washington, D.C., we'll often have a lot of cops come up and talk to us.
Yeah.
Usually those are regular D.C. Metropolitan Police. Sometimes I believe there's a few lieutenants in there. Could there have been one of them who's an FBI agent who walks up and says, hey, why don't you... I do remember a few times. I don't know if he was FBI, though. But there was a gentleman who walked up to the front of the marching column and said, hey, you're obviously the one in charge. I'm not wearing a mask. I got the big hat on. He said, hey, next time you're showing up to Washington, give me a call. He hands me a business card. I'm not interested in talking to the FBI. I ripped it up.
How many members do you guys currently have? Is it 160?
No, it is considerably above that, but the exact number, I'll keep it a little bit proprietary.
I guess what I'm asking for is, of the people that you have that's above 160, how many of them are active? Are a lot, is it a lot
in
of
the
active?
90% range, yes.
So 90% of the 160 is active.
Well, we have a membership that's in considerable excess of that.
Okay.
And we are not a strictly political organization like a lot of people might think. We're not a political party. A lot of what we do is community organizing. A lot of what we do is fraternal, where people have family events. We engage in charity efforts. We, the paper activism you see, where it's a poster, it's a sticker, it's a flyer, it's a banner. That is just one side of what we do. People also engage in career networking. People also engage in physical fitness and training. We host sporting events. We host outdoor treks and hikes and things of that nature. We host workshops. We teach people how to, perhaps you might need some homesteading lessons. Perhaps you might want to start up a small business. Perhaps you might want to know how to rappel down a cliff if you're doing rock climbing. Anything goes, really, because we do all those things. And actually, you mentioned in that article you were reading before, it says we avoid talking about guns. We don't do anything with guns. One of the biggest things that the FBI uses to entrap people, and I think they do this maliciously, is they will go into a political group, often one that likes guns, a militia type thing, and they'll say, hey, do you want to buy this illegal firearm? It's really cool. And the person will say, I think so, and then, game over, right? Members are not even permitted to talk to each other about what guns they might own. Nobody is selling or buying or modifying any firearms from each other. We have these security measures, solid, concrete, in place because we want to prevent, we do a lot to prevent anybody with bad intentions. They don't have to be in the FBI. There's lots of people in the world with bad intentions, We do a lot to prevent those people from even getting in. But even
do you trust the FBI?
Not at all. I think the FBI is a very politicized institution, and I think, frankly, it should be abolished, and perhaps something else should replace it. I don't think you should be able to get away with murder by crossing a state line, right? There should be some way for laws to be enforced on that scale. But the FBI itself, I believe, is so bureaucratic, it's so politicized, that it should be completely gutted and replaced.
Thomas, of the people that have applied to your organization, okay, some would say the reason why you don't want to give the number is because it's a lot smaller than people think. And when you're small, you have to act big. And when you're big, you have to act small. So maybe you're trying to act big while you don't have a lot of members and you're having a hard time gathering a lot of people. That could be one position that some people may take. Whether it's true or not, it is what it is.
They may say that.
What have you had any of the people that came to apply that were former FBI members? Any of the folks that applied? We
screen and we ask people about if they have any government background, whether that's working for the post office or we have a lot of veterans. And we have never uncovered an actual FBI agent. Now, this does happen, and this happens all across the political spectrum. But a lot of times, if somebody's information is put out there, if somebody's name gets big on Twitter for some sort of fringe political thing, this happens, with Antifa too. This happens with even Trump supporters who post a message about, sometimes they say, hey, that person should have something bad happen to them. Next thing you know, next morning, you got 2 plainclothes FBI officers knocking on your front door, and they say, hey, we have this tweet printed out here. What would you like to say about it? That has happened to members. But the FBI, I don't believe, engages in the type of undercover infiltration that a lot of people attribute to it as much as people think.
So yes or no, you've never recruited anybody that was with the FBI before? You've never had any. So are most of the people in the organization that get recruited, what percentage would you say are former military?
Somewhere maybe around 15 to 20%.
Oh, so it's not a big percentage. Is there
1 in 5.
It's not a lot.
Okay.
I would have thought it would have been more. Not in a good or bad way. I just would have thought, because everybody looks like they're in shape. So maybe the guys that you're getting are CrossFit guys. I don't know who you're getting because these guys are in shape.
Sure.
Why wear the masks?
Well, masks are engaging in the practice of anonymity. And I think the government, because if we don't trust the FBI, if we think government institutions like the FBI are politically motivated and they do use people's personal information to silence them, to censor them. And not only that, but the media, they talk about, oh, well, why isn't the media identifying them? Because it's really difficult for them to do so, and it's a lot easier for them to publish the types of articles that they do. Anonymity is a right, I believe, that falls well under the First Amendment of the Constitution.
Okay. What do you think about the organization Anonymous?
I don't have a really fleshed out opinion of the organization Anonymous itself. I'm not sure if it's really a single organization or if it's done anything lately. It might have done some good things. It might have done. I'm not really familiar with.
Any inspiration from them?
No, not necessarily. No.
Any connections with any of the guys from Anonymous or no?
I've never known anybody who's been involved with that.
Got it. So records obtained by the Texas Observer show that the FBI has been monitoring you since at least May of 2017. Mm-hmm. Now, May of 2017, you're how old at that time?
I would have been 17 or 18.
17 or 18 years old.
And I think where that comes from because at the time, a lot of people...
Let me just finish it.
No, please continue. Yes, absolutely.
While he was still a student at Capitol High School for his own flyer distribution on Dallas area campuses. So
that's it.
Why would FBI follow a 17-year-old kid? What are they worried about with you?
Maybe they were worried that I would start a much more successful political organization than the one I was in at the time. But at the time, what's more realistic is a lot of people were putting up a lot of posters and flyers at college campuses around the country, and the FBI probably had some political movers inside that said, hey, keep an eye on these things and get all that data because we think some of these people putting out flyers, maybe they're dangerous. That's all they need. The FBI doesn't need...
That doesn't make any sense, though.
The FBI doesn't have a high threshold.
They're just worried about you with flyers?
Perhaps. It was part of a larger trend that was happening in the country. The FBI doesn't have a high threshold for needing somebody to look in on something.
Yeah, but for flyers, there's hundreds of thousands of people that put up flyers. You want a 17-year-old kid is put on FBI is monitoring them because of just that?
I think it's as crazy as you do.
You think so?
Yes.
What do you think about Nick Fuentes?
I do not have a really one way or the other opinion on Nick Fuentes. I think he has a lot of correct opinions. I think there's plenty of things that me and him might disagree on. I have nothing against him personally. He has had some complicated opinions on the organization in the past, but I think he is broadly somebody that is pushing the boundaries of free speech and pushing the boundaries on perhaps conservatism, even patriotism. So I would say he's done some good in his political career.
Who on the America First community has publicly supported what you guys are doing?
There have been a few podcasters and pundits who I believe have made positive statements.
Who?
I believe one of them, Ryan Sanchez, has come out in support of us. Not people on the same level as Fuentes, but there is some support on that side of things. But
why do you think why do you think they're uncomfortable with you?
I think
you would seem to be somebody that they would say there's a young man, Thomas Russo, is doing XYZ.
Yeah.
Why are you not getting that? Why are they so uncomfortable with you?
I think there might be a level of perception of competition or a perception that there may be more enmity. You find in a lot of fringe politics that there is a lot of kind of my team, your team tribalism, which is something I really try to move past. I've never made any public statements against Nick Fuentes, and I really do my best to avoid making any negative comments on people individually.
I mean, I get that, but to me, like, this is a... Charlie Kirk was a young guy coming up, and boom, Charlie Kirk blew up, and he was pretty controversial. He was challenging a lot of people. He wasn't, it wasn't like, hey, nobody was supporting him. There was plenty of guys that were comfortable supporting him. Let me read something to you here from 2016, February 28. Your first column for a student newspaper on February 28, 2016 was titled "Diversity Clubs Bring Friendly Atmosphere to Students of Varied Backgrounds." That's kind of contradictory to where you are today, no?
So that is a news piece, and I was simply doing a story for my school newspaper, perhaps sophomore, junior year, that I was given by my editor, and I, like a good journalist, simply wrote the facts, and I talked to these people, and I wrote down what they said. If you look at the same newspaper, there are other comments, or there are other articles I wrote under the opinion category, and you will find more patriotic opinions under those when I was free to write my opinion.
So do you believe in diversity? Do you think diversity does bring friendly atmosphere to students of varied backgrounds?
I don't think ethnic and cultural diversity help a country. I think they impact negatively civic engagement. And there are some forms of diversity that are good. Like if you're trying to build a house, right? You want the diversity of having a bricklayer, a plumber, an electrician, and an architect. But if you're trying to build a house, you don't want 10 people who don't speak the same language, 10 people who are trying to build different types of houses. And that's the type of diversity we have in the country today. We're not selecting people for skills. We're selecting people for votes. We're selecting people for economic reasons. You know, the Democrats are importing voters, right? Because every group that they're bringing in is voting more Democrat than they are Republican. And 90% of the people coming into the country are from places other than Europe, other than traditionally white countries. So there's a huge economic incentive, and there's a huge demographic and electoral incentive for that reason.
I mean, if one may say, why are you uncomfortable with that? Since maybe even, you know, everybody that came here was an immigrant at one point. They came from somewhere, right? That they came to America.
Yes.
Even when, you know, Revolutionary War, you know, they had control. We're going to leave. We're going to come here. We're going to come and build what we're going to build. Hey, let me just even go to a different question. What do you think about slavery? The history of slavery, what's happened, blacks, whites, you know, what's your position on that?
Firstly, I would say that for the significant majority of American history, all the way up until the 1960s, the groups of people that were coming here were broadly from not only Europe, but only certain parts of Europe. And that almost 100%. And the conditions of people, especially coming here in the 16, 17, and 1800s, they were coming to an area which was not fully governed. They were coming to the frontier.
Yeah.
They were building homes out of mud brick. These were pioneers. These were settlers. These were homesteaders. It's vastly different than the people who come here today and sign up to welfare programs, the people who get their court date and don't show up. And on your second point, what do I think about slavery? I think slavery was imposed upon the colonies, which later became the United States, ultimately by the mercantile system of Great Britain and the empire. And it was sort of stuck because it became a very difficult institutional question to ask. And the founders asked this question. Thomas Jefferson and even Abraham Lincoln thought emancipation should naturally be followed by repatriation. Colonies were started in Liberia and even places in Central America so that we could return to a status of domestic tranquility without these large ethnic divisions. But unfortunately, when you were ratifying the Constitution, there were disagreements between northern and southern colonies as to should slaves, and that's where the 3/5 compromise comes from. And you had this large population of blacks, which were slaves at the time and then emancipated later, used as political leverage because southern states wanted them to be added to their House of Representatives number for apportionment, and northern states wanted the opposite. And later on, you'll find that the opposition to slavery became less of a political and a geographic thing and much more of a moral crusade. But even today, I think it can be argued, even Candace Owens says it, that the black voter base is somewhat used as a way of political leverage from one left to the right.
Do you think Lincoln screwed up with Emancipation Proclamation?
I think it was an act of war. It was done during the Civil War as a method to destabilize and to hurt the rebelling colonies or the rebelling states. As a method of achieving his ends in that conflict, I believe it was successful.
Would you have done what he did?
I cannot personally say what I would have done if I was in Abraham Lincoln's shoes. And it should also be realized that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated before he could really carry out whatever his vision was. And that's the story of historical debate for every day since then. People have argued what he really would have done.
Yes, I got some questions on that because when you're talking about Emancipation Proclamation, okay?
Yes. I do think slavery is an immoral institution, for the record.
You do think slavery is an immoral institution,
yes.
But you were hesitant to say whether you think what he did was the right thing or not, right? And you're like, I can't
on a political level, yes. It was controversial at the time.
It was controversial at the time, but
yes.
do you think, I'll read it to you. So Lincoln issued an Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, announcing that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious areas are and henceforth shall be free.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with all of that?
I agree that slavery should have been ended, yes.
So do you see blacks as equals to whites?
In the respects of having basic human rights and not deserving to be slaves, yes. Do I think that they are analogous to people of every different nation on the planet? No. Nor do I think I would compare any two groups of people and expect them to measure up precisely on the fact that they are different. I don't put the world into a hierarchy of races. I think that's unproductive. But I do recognize that different nations are different. They have different cultures. We have different languages. We live in different places. And that type of diversity, not within borders, but between them, is something which is very important. And a lot of the conflicts you have in the world today, whether you're looking at the Middle East, whether you're looking at Russia and Ukraine, are a result of nationalism which has been impaired by imperialism or globalism or these matters where people don't line up with their borders. And America did really well at that for a very long time.
Do you think your bloodline is superior to blacks?
Superior in what respect?
In any, in thinking, decision making.
Superior in being
leadership.
Superior in being American, yes. Superior in any other realm where you might try to measure an individual, I think that doesn't matter. I'm not an anthropologist. I'm not going to look at scientific things and IQ. I'm not familiar with those studies. Yeah. But what I do know is that different groups of people are the best at being who they are. But I don't believe we should put people into categories where it's making some sort of hierarchy, which is entirely unnecessary.
What do you think about Hitler?
I don't have any necessarily strong opinions on Hitler. I've never looked into him detailed in a historical lens.
Really?
Nothing I believe ideologically or politically is reliant on him.
So you've never studied him?
Never studied him, no. I mean, I'm familiar with the events of the Second World War. I think a lot of people...
You ever read Mein Kampf?
I have never read the book. I've heard excerpts, but I think a lot of people have. But I've never read it cover to cover.
You've never read Mein Kampf. Okay. All right. So when you started when we started the podcast, you said something about, hey, you're an American, you've done good, but there's some disagreements that we have. At the beginning, you said that.
I said you're pro-American, yes.
So what part of my ideas do you disagree with? I'm curious.
I think we have different ideas on what necessarily constitutes naturalization.
Okay.
Which is more of a natural process as opposed to a legislative process. And any attempt by the government to make that a legislative process is, I would think, a measure to coincide with the recognition of the natural process. Because nations are natural things. If you started the world over right now, and you put a bunch of people in a bunch of places on Earth, you would end up with nations. They would be different nations, but you would have nations. Because within human nature, given to us by whatever creator somebody might believe in, there is a social aspect and there is a hierarchical aspect. We form different cultures. We form hierarchies. And from our hierarchies extend governments. And from our various social collectives, we form families, communities, nations, and then ultimately races. And these are all natural outgrowths of the human mind and body. And me as a nationalist, I want a government which recognizes and upholds these natural truths instead of what we see today, especially with the transgender pathology. People are trying to play God. People are thinking that human beings and culture and heritage and everything up until now is just something that like clay that you can infinitely mold and cast people into these things where they're infinitely malleable. It's not true.
Earlier I asked you a question about people that came here. Everybody was an immigrant that came here, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think about Italians?
I think Italians are from Europe, and people of European nations can assimilate into the American nation as it is of Europe.
Why do you think Italians experienced, I don't know if it's racism, discrimination at the beginning where Italians were not allowed. They had all these things about them. Why do you think that happened in our history?
There was discrimination and there was opposition to a lot of the immigration that happened in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, not solely on the basis that these people were from Italy, because even the immigration restrictionists of the time agreed that there are good people from these countries. But the matter was, due to the economic incentives and due to a lot of social differences, the worst rungs of those social classes from Italy and other places around the Mediterranean were being brought into the country because, for example, steamship companies would make money by the head. So what do? You go and you clear out the asylums. You clear out the prisons. And a lot of countries were happy to dump these people onto American shores. And that was where a lot of differences come from. And, of course, there was the opposition based on Protestant and Catholic lines. Religious differences you're going to find all the time. That's something innate through human history.
So if you were president today, how would you handle, what would you do differently today? If you become a president today, it's 2024. You know where we're going with immigration. You know, we have somewhere between 8 million, 15 million. There's a lot of numbers we've read. What things would you work on immediately?
So first things first, you'd want to shut down the border. I think this is not a controversial thing to say to the right wing. You'd want to shut down the border. Every single illegal immigrant has to go. Anybody who's lied about their naturalization status, where they lied about living somewhere, they lied about really being a refugee when they're just an economic migrant, their naturalization should be revoked. Anybody who used that person as a chain link, anchor baby, sort of, don't keep families separated deal, they should go as well. Anybody who's only in here due to visas, which I believe have a lot of economic exploitation of the country, they should be sent home politely. We should be able to create our own engineers. Dual passports. Anybody with a dual passport, even Tucker Carlson said this when he spoke to him.
Yeah, I saw that.
Every single person with a dual passport should be forced to choose, and I think you'd be really surprised at what countries people would choose if you made them pick. And then you can start on a process of even voluntary repatriation. A lot of people... you have millions of people coming in, maybe not every year, but every couple of years. Biden's let in 7 million people in the last 3 years. A lot of these people are only here because of the economic incentives, right? And I agree that America should be a place where people can make money. I agree that America should be a place with this sort of opportunity. But not all the people coming across the Mexican border are entrepreneurs and businessmen and doctors. A lot of these people are here for the social programs. If those dry up, or even if you turn them around and say, hey, we're not doing that anymore. We've tried since 1965, we've tried the greatest humanitarian experiment in the history of the world, and frankly, it's failed. So we're going to turn this money around, and we're going to set you up going back home. You'll get a bus fare. We'll even sign all sorts of treaties with the government you came from, and we'll make sure it's happy.
Would you consider yourself a white supremacist?
I would not, for the reasons that I listed before, because I don't believe that the world needs to be put into a hierarchy of nation over nation, race over race. I think that's unproductive. I believe in nation states. I think throughout history, the most stable form of government has been when you put one nation in one state. Right? When you have a state which expands over many nations, you end up with imperialism. And in history, you would have governments that expand geographically. Like they would push their border over another nation. You have the Roman Empire, you have the Persian Empire, you have any empire, take it or leave it. And what we have now is the opposite, where we're taking people from other countries, other nations, and we're bringing them here. And it's still a form of imperialism. And I believe it's an attempt to assimilate all of these various nations, members of various nations that reside within the modern-day United States, into a sort of uprooted culture, a sort of nothing-at-all nationality. And I think that is very difficult. What was your question again? Did I answer it? Yeah.
No, I asked a question about not white supremacists.
Oh yes, I'm not a supremacist, so I don't believe you need to rank things in order. And I consider myself first and foremost loyal to the American nation. I am not loyal to other European countries. If there was ever a case where the interests of the American nation, which I am a part of, came into conflict with the interests of any other European nation, I would choose my own. So saying that I'm purely white in that respect would be reductive.
Who are your heroes as a kid growing up?
My heroes, so personally, I was in Boy Scouts, and I had role models, and I had mentors in that taught me a lot about morality, a lot about team building, a lot about small group leadership. And I believe, my father and some of the people in Scouts that I looked up to were role models growing up. But further on, as I've began to study and familiarize myself with American history, like I believe all members of the nation should, I have come to find a lot of admirable qualities in people like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Andrew Jackson, Theodore Roosevelt. Each of them have very stunning values, which I think I would never compare myself to, but I think we should, as Americans and as what we believe are servants to our national cause, we should try to emulate them to the best of our ability, because those people came from extraordinary circumstances.
Sure.
And I believe if we are going to save America, if we are going to recast America anew, because America has had ups and downs, but every time there's been a large correction and America has been set for the next century, maybe the next 150 years. I think we need that, and we need to look back at our history and say, how did they do it? Not exactly the methods, but how did they do it in terms of character, in terms of virtue? What kind of conditions did our founding fathers grow up in that made them so strong?
Yeah, but you're saying, At 17 years old, you're already thinking about doing some of these things. Why? Why is that? 17 years old, you know, most people are smoking weed. I'm assuming you didn't smoke weed. Yeah.
Never once.
At 17 years old, you're, you know, chasing skirts. You're going, doing what you're doing with girls. You're playing sports. You're maybe joining some clubs. You're part of you have a 4.0, you're either the academia guys. Why are you thinking about these thoughts at 17 years old? This has to have been a deep-rooted conviction, either from someone in your life or a book or something, to get you to be thinking the way that you are.
I saw a lot of the political landscape when I was just finishing high school. I was on the school newspaper, so I stayed tapped into the news. And of course, Trump was running and politics was everywhere. You could not get away from it if you tried. I went to city council meetings and I saw what local government was like. I tried to join the Young Republicans Club in school. There was nobody there that even supported Trump. I went to a press conference when Trump was not nominated, when Chris Christie endorsed him for the 2016 presidential race. I was there with my school newspaper. I saw all the various news agencies grilling Trump about his tax returns again and again and again. I saw a lot of the political spectrum. And then I got involved in online movements. I was talking with people online, and I ended up at Charlottesville. And I personally think I would have been better had I not been there. But knowing that I did, I learned a lot about what not to do. I think Charlottesville was a chaotic rally. I think it was very unfortunate. Now, I don't think that, you know, it was intended to be criminal or anything negative in that way, but I think it was very poorly planned. And seeing all that, I came to a conclusion from the parts of the political landscape I had seen that it's not good enough. And somebody needs to be doing something that I don't see being done right now. And when you find yourself, you probably have experienced this in business, when you find yourself in a room of people and you might be the only one who thinks that something should be done, at a certain point you think you have to do it yourself.
Okay, so Charlottesville, did you get paid from anybody to be there?
No, I actually spent some of my own money to...
Nobody paid you to be there?
Not at all.
Whatsoever.
I don't know anybody who was paid to be there.
Okay, got those honeypot, some of the stuff that conversations were coming up. Okay, so books. What books inspired you as a kid? What books did you read?
I have read and been inspired by the historical works of Francis Parkman. I think he was an excellent 1800s American historian who teaches the realm of history in a very successful way. The Federalist Papers are not necessarily inspiring, they're very dense, but they are very informative, and you really need to look up at the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists with almost a semblance of awe for how articulate and how reasonable they were with the circumstances they had, so that was very influential on me. I've read through the speeches and a lot of the works of George Washington, which sounds cliche, but it's cliche for a reason because Washington is the father of the nation and so many other things. I don't exactly remember the book, but I have read biographies of Andrew Jackson. I believe I read Benjamin Franklin's biography, and I found that to be very interesting because he lived in such a different world. I have read some works by Madison Grant and Lothrop Stoddard, who I don't agree with everything on their racial theories, but I think regarding immigration, they were right about a great number of things.
Who do you fear?
Who do I fear?
Who do you fear and what do you fear?
I fear a life not worth living. I fear irrelevance with nothing to do about it. I fear unfulfilled potential. I have a lot of people who don't like me in the world. I have a lot of people who come after me, whether it's legally, whether it's rhetorically, whether it's politically. But I'm not afraid of that. I'm afraid of not doing the most I can in my life to accomplish what I think is right and moral and virtuous. I'm afraid of not being true to myself, with being put in a situation where I feel like I have to morally compromise.
Tell me about your relation with your parents, mom and dad.
Absolutely. And I think my mom and my dad, who don't necessarily share all of my political opinions, or even some of them, so I won't drag them into this, but I think my parents were divorced from a young age. From my young age, not theirs. And I went back and forth, and I learned a little bit about how families can be a little bit dysfunctional in the modern day, but I think my story is one shared by many, many young men in America today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I believe that I learned a lot from them. I still keep in good touch with them.
Are you close to both?
Yes, I would say so. Not one necessarily more than the other. Although I did live with my father longer once I got older, but I think it's important for a young man to have a more male role model in his life.
Who offended you?
Offended me?
Did anybody offend you?
You mean in a personal context?
Did anybody offend you to cause rage within you?
I don't believe I have the kind of rage in me that a lot of people would expect or predict. I do what I do out of the belief that it's right and that it's necessary. And I always do my best to avoid getting angry with people, but I don't have to try that hard because I can have disagreements with people. But I believe politics and decision making and leadership, especially since I work with volunteers. Everybody I work with is working with me because they want to. And when I say, hey, go do that thing, I always follow it up with, and here's why. And here's why I think you should do it. And if you don't...
Who taught you how to do that? Who taught you how to attract volunteers? Where did you learn that?
I learned some of it in Boy Scouts. I learned some of it on the school newspaper, but gradually it was really a practice of learning it in the field, learning while you do. And
did you duplicate anybody? Did you have somebody that mentored you?
I wouldn't say I had a specific mentor. I've seen a lot of people in my life who've done things one way or the other. I believe I might have a natural proclivity for a few things. I don't want to sound like I'm, putting myself out there too much, but I believe I do have a particular personality which helps towards working with volunteers.
Who's your enemy?
My enemy. I believe anybody who wants to absolutely transform and transfigure the face of America into something both it is not and something it was never meant to be.
Does it make you feel uncomfortable that you're sitting with a Middle Eastern right now?
Not at all. We're having a rational and reasonable conversation.
When you went to school at Kappa, what percentage was whites? What was the,
It actually changed very considerably in my time there. I'm not exactly sure on the percentages, but when I was freshman year, I believe, white people or, traditional Americans as we would know them were the considerable majority or a super majority of the population. By the time I left, I remember there was one very key moment where I went back to my middle school. I was there working for the school paper, and there was a World War II veteran of the Pacific Theater speaking about his experience at Pearl Harbor. And I looked into the audience, and I would say around 3/4 of every child sitting there was of Indian ancestry, subcontinental Indians. And the amount of indifference I saw was startling. And I'm not accusing, these Indian children of being indifferent to the struggles of World War II American veterans. But frankly, it's not their history. They have, the history of their parents also extends back to World War II. India was involved, but it's very different. And it was just a shocking moment because the country that this man thought he was fighting for and the country that he was being presented with today were so drastically different that was a stunning moment. But
Okay.
was I personally offended?
No. Okay. So Patriot Front, do you guys have any black members?
No.
Why not?
Because I believe that the interests of blacks in the United States and the interests of who I call Americans are distinct. I don't believe they're always contradictory, but we only recruit members who are of the European race and of the American nation. We've denied...
So then that's why they call you white nationalist. Were you okay with that disposition or
America was living by that standard, essentially from 1620.
Nothing that there's anything
from
wrong with that.
1620 to 1960, that was the standard.
Right.
So, but white nationalist is a term, you won't find the founders saying it. George Washington, the first Congress in 1787, signed a law saying Naturalization Act, the very first one, only free white men of good character, free white persons of good character. Did George Washington ever call himself a white nationalist? Do people call George Washington a white nationalist? Do they call him a fascist, even though he existed 100 years?
It's a different America than today. It's a different America than today. So black members cannot be a part of Patriot Front. Can a Middle Eastern?
No.
Can I apply and be a part of it?
There are many organizations in this country that are by and for people of African descent or people of Middle Eastern descent.
Sure. I'm just qualifying that so we know. It's not a big deal. It's
Absolutely.
just you're saying what the position is. Okay.
Yes.
Trump. How do you feel about Trump?
I have a balanced opinion on Trump. I do not personally, overtly, or actively support him. I think the patriotic constituents in America, people who think like I do, are too easily brought in behind politicians who may overpromise and underdeliver. I think Trump is very unique in the political space. I think he has done a lot for the conservative movement. You see things being the norm in conservative politics that under Mitt Romney and Newt Gingrich would have been unthinkable. So I think there is a value to that. I think the landscape has opened up. But I don't personally support Trump. I think Trump has to do more.
Such as what? Like, what does he need to do?
I think his support for Israel is one thing in particular, and perhaps his favor of those Zionist politics is one of the biggest things that are perhaps holding Trump back from a true America First policy.
So you're not for him supporting the Zionists and Israel. You don't like that.
I am not in favor of that.
Why are you uncomfortable with that?
I believe not only is the wars in the Middle East, often involving Israel, either directly or indirectly, are a huge drain of resources, of diplomatic credibility. I mean, how many countries in the world hate the United States because we have chosen Israel as an ally over however many dozens of countries despise us for our role in that. But it is a drain of blood. It's a drain of resources. It's a drain of money. It's a drain of diplomatic credibility. And culturally, Americans have very little in common with, I think, a lot of the people that live in Israel. Perhaps not much more than we would have in common with the people who live in other countries.
Unpack that. What do you mean by that? The word we disagree with a lot of people in Israel.
Americans are not culturally similar to Israelis any more than we would be culturally similar to Iranians, especially, in the country where you grew up. I know Iran has changed very drastically, but I don't think we have a whole lot. There's no reason that Israel needs to be this ally, which we are willing to sacrifice our place on the global stage for, which we're willing to wage trillion-dollar wars to destabilize their neighbors. There's no reason except for the fact that there's so many Zionists in the American government, in lobbying groups like AIPAC, and they brag about their influence. They brag about being able to buy politicians. And you look up politicians that say pro-Israel things, that they defend Israel invading these cities in Gaza, and you look at how much money they've received from AIPAC and groups like that, and it's a lot. But I don't think we should support these other groups in the Middle East. I think the United States should be hands off the Middle East, because I think a lot of these countries, a lot of these groups were having conflicts and border conflicts and ethnic conflicts and religious conflicts long before the United States ever showed up, and they'll be having them after we leave.
Do you think the world's a better place without Israel existing?
I don't know. I think the existence of Israel is something that needs to be decided by the Middle East and not the United States.
So, okay, are you a Christian?
I am not personally religious, although I do deeply respect and appreciate the role that Christianity has played in shaping the culture of America.
What do you believe in?
I believe there's something. I believe there is greater power. There is something in nature or something in the creation of the world and the universe.
Who do you think Jesus was?
I think Jesus was an immensely important historical figure. I believe he was real. I believe he was present, and I believe he defined, millennia that have followed with his words and with his actions and with the.
Do you see him as the greatest carpenter of all time? Is that kind of how you view him? Or
I think Christ exemplified a lot of the moral teachings that I believe have greatly influenced. I mean, he's called the Son of God, and billions of people believe that.
So would you say you're an atheist, agnostic, more agnostic?
I've never delved really into picking or choosing a label, but I deeply respect the role that Christianity has played.
So let's just say I'm Assyrian. Okay.
Very good.
And as most of the Assyrian land was today's Iraq. Okay. And a lot of the places, historical places of Assyrians, Alamas and some of these places that we had, they've been destroyed by people in Iraq, absolutely destroying well-known churches, well-known buildings to get rid of the history.
I'm against historical erasure.
Okay. But also, if you say you're against it, but what does that really mean? Because, some people may say, well, the reason why Israel is necessary, because that's Jerusalem. So what if we let it loose and you let the Middle East handle it and they go in and they destroy the city? How do you prevent that from happening?
I wouldn't be in favor of cities being destroyed generally.
Well, you won't be able to control that because that's happened.
Does the United States need to guarantee every city in the world?
Jerusalem is a different city, though. There's a couple billion people worldwide that believe in this guy named Jesus, and they don't think he was just a carpenter. They think he was
I understand.
Right. So to them, they would like to keep that place.
When you spoke with Vivek Ramaswamy, he was talking about how I don't believe he thinks that Israel should be in its place of preeminence that it is right now. But he was talking about how Israel had all the money and all the guns that, frankly, they needed to defend their own borders. But what they lacked most was diplomatic credibility. And that was not being used by them, because I think there's a lot of people in Israel who are placing the conflict and their war goals over their diplomatic credibility on the world stage. And without the United States propping them up diplomatically, perhaps a lot of those politicians in Israel would have to make a lot of very difficult decisions, which would ultimately bring them back into a semblance, we can hope, of harmony. But that's a decision that has to be made by them.
But that's a different conversation, though.
Sure.
Those are two separate things we're talking about. I think...
I don't think that America exists to assure these places.
you don't think America exists to ensure these places. So,
Yes.
Got it. So for you, whether they destroy Jerusalem or not, that's not in your top 100 list that matter to you.
I would say that I would think it would be a very bad thing. However,
you wouldn't lose sleep over it, though.
The United States, if we're talking about what we would do, I'm not in any position to write policy or dictate foreign policy, right? But the United States could act not as a arms dealer, but it could act in a more assertive tone as a peace broker. And I think that could avoid the type of cataclysmic scenario you're talking about.
What prompted you to be so uncomfortable or maybe against Israel's existence, or, you know, the fact that's like, I think Trump being too supportive of that, I'm not with that. What prompted you at this age, 25 years old, to be so against that?
It's not so much Israel in the Middle East as much as it is Israel in the United States. I think the amount of people of Jewish faith and ancestry, and specifically of Zionist political leanings, is they're overrepresented in positions of power in the United States today. And is that me saying that every single one of them is morally bad and guilty of some particular wrongdoing? No, absolutely not. But I think it is not wrong to say that these people, you know, especially Zionists, people with these lobbying groups, are so vastly overrepresented in comparison to the amount of Jews in the Middle East or in the United States or anywhere, that we need to ask some serious questions as a country as to whether or not the influence of these, you know, political careerists is in the best or the negative interests of the United States. And if you ask me, I would say no.
I think that's a very valid. No, I don't think people would dispute that. I don't think that's the concern. There's a lot of people that are probably going to be on the same page with you there on whether America's first or not. It's not about I hope so. I think that's what the case is. Because we would want it to be America first. And some of them are simply not. They're giving too much money to Ukraine, too much money to a lot of different places. Those are all valid concerns to have. I think for you, okay, so at the beginning, I asked you, you know, what things this organization was about. You're like, well, that was a hit piece that was written on us. Okay, great.
That particular one. Yeah.
Right, that one that was a hit piece written on you guys. Who is an ideal candidate today that you would say, I like what he or she stands for?
As far as conventional politicals and electoral race?
Yeah.
I don't think right now there would be somebody that Patriot Front is willing to endorse, because there's not somebody up in that same stage who would in turn endorse Patriot Front. I will defend anybody who defends me. However, I would say that the political constituency or the patriotic constituency in America is not really ready for a nationalist candidate, because we lack a lot of the community organizing. We lack a lot of the central focus. You look at the Republican Party today, and so much of it is about what we aren't, what we don't like about the left. It's very oppositional, but you will find there is a more intense lack of a congruent and cohesive vision of what America should be 10, 20, 100, 150 years down the line.
So you're sitting out this election. You will not be voting this election.
I will personally not be voting. I will not be stopping members of, that would be illegal. I'm not stopping anybody from voting.
But you won't be voting.
I'm not telling anybody not to vote, but personally, I will abstain.
So, okay, so if that's where you are, my take on you is you're a true, you won't like this, you're a true white nationalist, not in a way that you're a Nazi and you're you know, from that standpoint, but I think you may need to study a little bit of Hitler because...
I don't think so.
I think, listen, if you really are trying to do... good in the world, which sounds like that's what you want to do. It's important to study history.
Sure.
And sometimes studying history isn't just the good and the just studying the good people. Sometimes you got to study the bad people as much as the good people to find out what drove them, what moved them, what pissed them off, and what led them to do something that was catastrophic. You're young. You sound like you're a true believer. I'm not convinced all of this is happening. I think something happened to get you to be believing this stuff. I don't know the relationship with mom, dad, and uncle, somebody like that at the beginning.
There's
that
nothing
maybe inspired.
negative about any of it.
I don't say negative. I didn't say negative. I mean, I have some certain beliefs myself.
Sure.
That as a young man that got my convictions to get deeper. I think there's something there. Because I think for someone to just wake up one morning and want to do this, it prompts a lot of different questions at a young age.
Okay.
There has to be something that's the motivation. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure within time we'll find out. Any final thoughts to the audience before we wrap up?
For me?
Yeah.
I think there were a lot of things that when we were talking about the elements on Twitter, especially some of the things with the tweets regarding the arrests in Idaho, we never really got to fully dig in there when you were talking about the fact that masks weren't taken off. Can I talk about that point?
Of course.
So if we could perhaps pull it up, the image or the video of yes. So he's asking there, why no mask removal after arrest? And I actually saw, if you scroll down in that thread a little bit, there were photos of the guys. See right there, if you go right, not only is that everybody's mugshot, but you go right there, and there is one of the guys being unmasked. And here's why. Here's what happened, is they stopped the truck because a citizen, just a regular person, saw something very strange. He saw something very unusual. He called the police, and he used some language, and the police were on a hair trigger that day. They were very nervous. And what they did was they showed up with all their SWAT gear and stuff like that, because previously there was a militia group in North Idaho which said, hey, we're going to be there, we're going to do all sorts of stuff, right? That wasn't us. But the police, hearing that phone call, thought it might have been that militia group. They show up like this. They arrest people without even... They were talking about a rioting charge before they even opened that box truck. They knew what they were going to arrest those people for. They bring all those guys down onto the grass, handcuffed, because if you're a cop, you're thinking, what's more dangerous to me, this guy's face or his hands? So they handcuff everybody, they sit them down, and they start processing people one by one. What they did, and this includes me, they took me up there in front of the squad car, they take all your stuff out of your pockets, they take your mask off, they take a photo of you, they do some paperwork, then they put you in one of them big police vans, and they take you off to jail. So when people say, why didn't they remove their masks? They did. They absolutely did. And that whole court case
Not everybody. I mean, I understand you're just isolating one of the cases. It's not...
I would be more than happy to go through every single...
There's a difference between... having some like that versus, you guys wanted to come out. What do you think about KKK? What do you think about Ku Klux Klan?
I think it is a useless organization, both modern, and I think it made a lot of very large mistakes in history.
Such as?
I think its tactics were overly chaotic. I think there were some big political investments by the Klan into things like prohibition, which I think were useless, especially in hindsight. I think the religious disputes of the Klan were entirely useless, especially in the modern context. And the cultural footing of the organization was founded in a lot of resentment following the Civil War, which I think made it ineffective in getting out of a culture of resentment itself. Because if that's where you start, it's going to be very easy to stay there, and it's going to be very easy to recruit everybody who has that sense of resentment, but it's going to be very hard to translate out of that.
What do you think about David Duke?
I don't know a whole lot about David Duke's life. There are probably some things he said which are reasonable. There are probably some things he said which I disagree with. I don't know if he's ever hurt anybody. I don't know if he's ever committed any particular crimes. So I will say that I'm broadly unfamiliar with the man.
So it sounds like maybe you didn't study Hitler, but you definitely studied the KKK.
It's American history, yes.
Why did you study them? Why are you so interested in the KKK?
Well, the KKK is an interesting part of American history, especially when you look after the Civil War and in various periods of racial unrest in the 1800s. Its role in the 1900s, I'm a little less familiar with, but there were various iterations. It's obviously not all the same people. But I am familiar with the Klan as much as I am familiar with the various other political figures in the aftermath or before the Civil War.
Yeah. So then, for me, it's not necessarily America first, your disposition. One may watch this and say, it's not America first, you're white first. Because there's a big difference. Because if you say America first, some people may... on the left, they may find a way to use you and pull you in other America First organizations. Have you considered changing the, branding to white first over America first?
Well, no, because the white people I'm talking about are those who specifically live in America and have a connection and a history with America.
Right.
So it's not Germans, it's not Lithuanians, it's not people from Denmark. It's Americans. And I believe in
white first.
These people.
White.
I believe, sure, colloquial, it's white people.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
descendants
okay.
of the European race.
But what I'm saying is that would get that would help a Musk or Rogan or some of these guys to say, okay, cool, he's white first. It's great. No problem. It's not America first. Those are two different things because
the definition of America.
Go ahead.
You're talking about from 1620 to 1965. Americans were thought of before Europeans landed here. There was no America. America is a word that comes from European cartographers. The United States of America comes from the 1700s. There was not a single signer of the Declaration nor a ratifier of the Constitution. Even until 1912, people who we call Native Americans, which is a term born out of the 1960s, did not have citizenship. They were not members. They were not even.
Think about the Constitution.
I think the Constitution is one of the greatest legal documents
in
human history. Absolutely.
So what's the first? Let's go through it, Rob. Just pull it up. Let's pull up the Constitution. Go for it.
I think it outlines a government that has been very effective, a government which allowed America to go from a series of fledgling colonies to a continental empire.
Can you pull up the Constitution, Rob? So what do you think about freedom of religion?
I am in favor of freedom of religion, especially in the context in which the Founding Fathers wrote it. There was no large population of Muslims or Hindus in America at the time it was written. This was primarily written between different sects of Christianity.
So meaning a lot's changed since then.
Some things have changed in terms of legislative policy, but not necessarily the proper ways to instill and defend a country.
How big was the Muslim religion in 1776, Rob? Can you Google this? How big was the Muslim religion? These are people that are your heroes.
Aware that Thomas Jefferson went to war with Muslim pirates.
I totally get that. What I'm trying to find out is, because if you're talking about you love the Constitution, you love what it stands for.
I love its role as a document which
but freedom of religion is a way saying that other religions can coexist and other religions could not be white.
Well, that's also important because we had immigration policy made by the legislative branch outlined in the Constitution, which for hundreds of years precluded immigration from places which were largely Christian and largely European. And once that changes, it's much more difficult to say that Congress shall make no law about anything in particular.
Yeah, but it contradicts what you're saying. What you're saying is if the Constitution is a beautiful... Do you think George Washington was Christian? I'm curious to know where you're at with that camp.
Yes.
Thomas Jefferson, you think he was a Christian?
Jefferson is commonly historically understood as a deist. So
he's known as a deist.
Yes.
Okay, we're on the same page.
Yes.
Okay. Where are you at with Benjamin Rush?
Benjamin Rush, I would assume he was also a Christian.
Okay.
I'm not familiar exactly with his religious beliefs.
So freedom of speech, great.
I'm in favor
Freedom of assembly.
Obviously,
great.
I practice that.
Freedom of religion opens it up. So
Congress
maybe
shall make no law. I agree with that.
Yeah.
The government itself should not adopt an official religion.
I know, but what that does do is then maybe to be congruent with your beliefs, then maybe it is, I think they screwed up when they put freedom of religion.
I don't.
Really?
No.
But then that attracts Muslims. That attracts others to come here.
Was not with the Constitution, but with the immigration policy. Immigration policy was opened up in 1965, not 1784.
What's your point?
The point is that immigration policy allowed for all of these different people. And the reason...
You think Muslim wasn't here prior to that?
Not
you
very
think
many.
Other religions weren't here prior to that?
Not in any significant quantity,
Oh, it's not about significant. Of course,
not enough to make a difference.
I get that, but compounding effect. No, I think to be fully congruent with where you're at, the part that may make sense is white first, cool, because that's your priority. It's not when you tell somebody America first, like you tell Elon Musk, do you consider him American?
I would say it can be argued if he's fully assimilated, given his cultural history. You could say yes, you could say no.
So he's not born here. He's from South Africa, but because he's white, he's American to you.
He is of a nation, which is the South Africans who are from the Netherlands, and America has more in common with the Netherlands than it does a place like Japan.
I totally get that.
And I understand you say I should say white first.
No, it's not. You should say. You can say whatever you want to say, and nobody can. This is America. I'm a freedom of speech. But I think based on the way you're presenting your ideas, I don't think you're America first. I think you're white first is what you are. Because you're not even Christian.
Go ahead.
So it's not the denomination where, I would have said if you're America first, I think Trump is America first.
Yes.
I think Musk is America first.
Okay.
I think Rogan is America first.
I have nothing against these people.
No, what I'm saying to you is I think a lot of these guys are America first. I think... me being from Iran, I think I'm America first. I'm a supporter of this. But I think there's a difference between what America first means versus yours, which is more specific to skin color and origin, where they come from.
Did you know that Charles Lindbergh, who originally coined the term America First with the America First Committee, had beliefs in race and naturalization much more similar to mine than any of the people you just listed?
He may have, but that doesn't mean that's if you ask the average
talking
person.
About the origins of a phrase.
But there's a difference. So you're saying Trump has that position?
I am saying Trump has his own unique positions, not all of which I agree with.
Well, of course. That's kind of like saying, the same book written, Vault, is written by 20 different people. That doesn't mean that if I write the book Vault, it's the same as the first guy that wrote the book Vault. No, that's not what that means.
And when
I think Trump, Trump is thinking about choosing Tim Scott as a VP. You probably would lose your mind if Tim Scott is the VP.
I don't know or have any large opinion on Tim Scott.
But he's black, though. That's not America First.
I didn't know he was black until you just told me.
Yeah, Tim Scott is black. So
very good for him.
Yeah, but it's not about good for him or not. That would be against Patriot Front, that you and your community wouldn't be okay with that.
When you were speaking with Vivek, you talked about how Ann Coulter believed that Vivek would not get her vote for president.
Sure.
Because he's the children of immigrants and he is very culturally distinct.
Yeah, sure.
I think that is an opinion held by a very large percentage.
I don't disagree.
Of the conservative.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Enough of a percentage to make a difference politically. And
enough or not enough?
Enough.
Okay. Good. That's an opinion.
Enough that I think it needs to be weighted. And when you're talking about when I say America, I love the history of America. I love the culture of America. And I will always...
You don't really like the freedom of religion, though, because that kind of screwed it up a little bit.
I do not... What do you believe I endorse that's against it?
Because if they would have said only Christianity...
I don't agree with that.
But what I'm saying to you is the moment you say freedom of religion...
Yes.
You attract whites, blacks, Middle Easterns, Asian, Japanese, Muslim, anything and everything to come here because...
When they wrote that, and then for hundreds of years afterwards...
Then they screwed up in your eyes.
Immigration was restricted.
Then they screwed up in your eyes.
The people who wrote that also
made a
wrote
mistake.
The naturalization laws, yes.
Okay, so they made a mistake. So that's what you're saying.
Well, not they made a mistake, but people hundreds of years later made a mistake.
Well, not necessarily. If they say freedom of religion, then maybe they weren't paranoid enough to think that freedom of religion could open it up to other religions from different sects and communities to come to America.
When they passed the Immigration Act of 1965, I believe Lyndon B. Johnson said it would not significantly transform the demographics of the United States.
Yeah.
We know that that's false.
Okay.
And when they wrote the Constitution, when they include the First Amendment in there, they're primarily talking about preventing religious disputes among a people which was largely homogeneous and of European descent. You can look into the works of Washington, Hamilton, Jefferson, and they all believe this.
I understand that. I understand where you're at.
Okay.
I understand your position. I think the audience gets to decide to say, okay, this guy is not necessarily America first. He's maybe white first. Or some people are going to say, no, I think he is this. They're going to make that decision for themselves. Candace Owens, you've said a few things about Candace Owens.
I mentioned her, yes.
Would you be comfortable with her becoming the president of the United? Would you vote for her if she ran?
I don't think she has opinions analogous to mine, and I don't think the president of the United States should be of her cultural background.
So the president of the United States should be of the cultural background.
Well, he should be American, yes.
She is.
By some people's definition.
So that goes to skin.
Well, it goes to a cultural experience.
Give me a black American in your eyes.
I don't think there are any.
That's the point. So that's skin. That's where you're going.
Race is not skin deep.
But I understand that. But to me...
Race is an experience which has all sorts of ramifications, sociologically, demographically, economically, culturally, religiously, even linguistically.
Well, I'm telling you, what today did is everyone now knows who you are.
I'm glad.
Yeah, no, everyone now knows who you are and what your position is.
Yes.
This is good for you. Now they know. And by the way, some people are going to be like, I like this guy. And I think believe it or not, I think there's a community of people like you that are out there. The same way when you said, I think there's enough of people like Ann Coulter in America.
Sure.
I think there is. But I think some people also say they're also holding America back.
Nationalism is going to be a part of the political landscape, no matter what anybody does, because I believe it's rooted in the innate feelings of human beings.
What do you think about Obama, by the way? When Obama became president, were you doing backflips celebrating that we have a black president?
I was not in favor of him. I was very young. I was in middle school or perhaps elementary school.
He's not one of the guys that you're in favor of. That would drive you insane.
I don't think Obama did a very good job as president.
So then who at that young age made you believe that? Did your parents play a role? Did they say anything about blacks?
My parents did not influence me largely politically. I think my parents did a good job of raising me, but I will not place my political beliefs on them.
I get that, but for that to be injected at a young age, someone influenced that. And that's all I'm saying. For somebody to have these deep-rooted beliefs like this, and I understand when you get to a point where you don't want to get your parents involved or anything else.
Sure.
Somebody doesn't just wake up one day and say, yeah, he's,
Well, it was a process that took years. Because when
how old are you right now? You're October 20th, 98, you said? What year were you born?
October 20th, 1998.
Okay, so
when I was, if I could help you out with
right, 2004, he talks at the DNC. So 2008, I know you weren't, but in 08, he becomes president.
Mm-hmm.
You're 10 years old. There's only one way that influence is going to be there. It's probably from parents.
I was not following politics at that age. When I was in maybe 2014, 2013, I was not politically minded at all. Like you said, I was the kid like you described, just doing things. And then when 2015, 2016 comes around, I start learning more about politics.
Mm-hmm.
I start interacting with more people who have all sorts of different opinions online. And eventually, with Trump, I start interacting with a lot of people that like Trump or that dislike Trump. And I find out more of what I believe by interacting with people who believe different things. Sometimes you don't know you don't like something until somebody presents you with it. And you find out, well, that's not really who I am. And then after a few years, and ultimately I got caught up in Charlottesville as somebody who wasn't super familiar with a lot of the things going on. And I found out a lot of what I didn't like. But I also found out that there's something in patriotism, there's something in nationalism that's worth having. It's just it wasn't there at the moment.
Would you ever marry a black woman?
No.
Okay. Middle Eastern?
No.
Armenian, Assyrian?
I want my children to look like me.
Okay. So got it. You want your children to.
I think that's a very understandable opinion.
I don't.
A lot of
there's people that there's a guy that goes viral all the time, and he wants blacks to only marry blacks. I don't have a problem with that. I got a manek yesterday from somebody whose parents are Armenian, and she is dating a black guy, and her parents want her to marry an Armenian guy, and I can understand that. I don't have a problem with that. But going back to it,
yes,
you would be more white first. Not America first.
Well,
there's a big difference.
Americans are one of the sovereign nations of the European race. Just like somebody who believes that Iranians should only marry Iranians. Would you say that he is Arab first?
What big name today in America agrees with you?
I would say that there are people who have individual opinions. If I'm going to point to somebody who believes everything I believe.
No, just the specific thing about to say, I'm not comfortable with a Candace Owens being a president. I'm not okay with a Tim Scott being a vice president. I'm not okay.
You put them on the ballot and you'll find out how many.
It's not about finding.
That.
Oh, are you kidding me? Like we learned how many people did that when Obama won in 08. Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is, I don't disagree that there isn't a sect with you.
Yes.
But I think your community is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, not bigger. I think your community.
Political landscape is opening up.
You think so?
There's a lot of people. When you talk to Tucker Carlson, you asked him what America was.
Mm-hmm.
And he said America is a people, it's a place and experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying he agrees with me on everything.
Mm-hmm.
But he also said that if you take all the people in America and you replace them with somebody else, it is no longer America.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a very common opinion. I think that it's a very deeply felt opinion among a lot of people.
I'm actually with a lot of what he's saying there. I actually agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not... when I came to America, I feel I had to earn the right to come to this great country. Sure. It gave me incredible benefits. I owe to America. I don't think America owes me anything.
Okay.
Nothing. I came here and I had 195 other options. Why did we choose America? Then, we could have gone to Africa. We could have gone to Russia. We could have gone to, at the time, Yugoslavia. We could have gone to... Why did we come here? We owe America. This is why I served in the military. But I think the difference between you and Tucker, you've quoted a lot of people.
Yes.
You've quoted Tucker. You've quoted Ann Coulter.
Sure.
You've quoted Candace Owens. Ann Coulter dated Dinesh D'Souza.
Okay. Sure, that's
Candace Owens, I think she's black.
I'm pretty where she is.
And Tucker Carlson gets along with practically anybody, and it's not something.
I would like to think I'm getting along with you.
I don't think it's about along the differences. Like I don't think a Tucker would want somebody to become a president based on their skin color and being white first. I think Tucker would want somebody to become president.
Race is not purely skin color. Race is a broader aspect of the human experience.
I get that. But I mean, listen, Candace Owens is as American as apple pie, and Candace Owens is black.
She is black.
You would be uncomfortable with her being a president. I ask you if you would ever marry somebody. No. Okay, cool. There's the fact that you're uncomfortable to say white first, you shouldn't be. You should be comfortable with it.
America is a nation which is a part of what you see as the white race.
Yeah.
And I want to
I don't mind.
people
I married a white girl from here. I think we did the ancestry, and I think she's British. So I married a white girl that you would support of, where she's from. But to me,
I don't support somebody automatically because they are a member of my nation. I support people because of matters of their character and matters of their deeds.
Not what it sounds like, though. It's not what it sounds like.
It absolutely is.
It's not what it sounds like.
I think we should be able to have a country, if the immigration policy that you're talking about, where it's largely restricted to merit, you would believe it should be a meritocracy.
Yeah.
And people who have something to bring to the country should be let in.
Right.
If that was in practice for the last 100 years, do you think the country would be whiter or less white?
100 years ago, going back to 1924.
Sure.
If that would have been practice, would it be whiter? I don't know.
So we're only letting in people who could do something that you did.
Yeah, I probably, if you allowed it based on what they did, I don't know, because the educational system in Japan is incredible.
Okay.
I think when I came to America from Iran, I schooled you guys in math. But wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Japan is,
but wait a minute. When I came here in 7th grade, I was shell-shocked of how pathetic the math was in America at 7th grade. I laughed at Americans. And so, go look at how many Persians, Iranians, job creators, what they do. Are you kidding me? They're all over the place when it comes down to business. So bring Japanese, bring Indians. The highest paid.
Yes.
Indians in America. Can you pull up, Rob, which immigrants in America make more money than actual whites? This is actually the direction you went. Wait a minute. Let me just show this to you.
Please. Okay.
So if you can pull this up, Rob, where it shows there's a statistic, income inequality. If you can't find it, Rob, I'll find it. It shows which ethnic immigrants make the most money, and whites are at $65,000. Indians are at $129,000. So do I think America would be better if they attracted more Indians? They kick white people's ass. I mean, if that's the part. And I'm not even Indian.
There's no reason that I believe all these, and what you're talking about is more of the immigration that's coming from the visa programs and not necessarily the southern border.
Well, I'm not for illegal immigration. I'm not sitting here saying we do illegal immigration. That's not where I'm coming from. But
India landed on the moon. I think they can have their own engineers. There's no reason that these people need to come here, especially not in such great numbers that it's transforming American communities.
Yeah, but that part, what you just asked, is when you said, if from 1924 till today, if we, followed guidelines, would America be whiter or this? Numbers, specific data, highest paid immigrants in America, ethnicity. There is a chart, which we've done an episode on this. Brandon, if you're watching, I found it. Okay, here we go. And you got to see this because I think this will be good stuff for you to take a look at. At the top, for us.
The largest growing demographic group in the country is coming from south of the border. There isn't a single country of that nationality on this list.
No, you're
maybe at the very bottom.
Okay, check this out. Indian Americans, number one. You're uncomfortable when it says Indian Americans.
What percentage of the country right now has Indian?
Hang on, let me kind of go through this here for you.
I was asking you a demographic.
Indian Americans, 100,000. Filipinos, 83, Taiwanese, Sri Lankan, Japanese, Malaysian, Chinese, Pakistani, whites. White first. They're 8th place. Then you got the average American. No, but this, because I know white is important too. So white Americans are there.
The cultural experience of being American.
But you said, you asked me a question.
I understand.
And your question was, if we would have followed the guidelines. If I see this right here, you know what I would say? I'd love to get more Indian engineers here. Are you kidding me? We hire a bunch of them. They're brilliant. So whatever, the IIT Institute engineers destroyed the MIT Institute engineers. Their educational system on how there's a video documentary that was done that got engineers graduating from IIT. I don't know how familiar you are with IIT versus MIT.
I'm not.
Okay, then you ought to take a look at this because our educational system is weak. It's not strong. Indians come in here, they make us better. Educational system from Japan, make us better. Middle Easterns come in here with the math from Iran. They make us better. What's wrong with that? I mean, if America wasn't able to use some of those resources, what I'm against is leaving the border open. Guys, come left and right. They just found 6 people who are on the terrorist list that's come in the last 2 years. What was the number, 6 or 14, Rob? Do you remember?
6.
6 that have come the last 2 years on the terrorist list because we've left the border open. No one's for that.
If we could, because I asked you a question about what the total demographics would look like. When we pulled up that list, the largest percentage making up groups from Africa and south of the border, from Latin American countries, was at the bottom. And again, I'm not saying those are bad people, but I'm saying we need to question why our immigration policy allows mostly those types of people.
That's a fair question.
And we shouldn't be afraid to point out that these various groups are coming from different places that are different.
But this destroys your argument.
What percentage of the present-day United States population is from India or the Philippines? That would be a very excellent question. Because if you subtract that...
But let me ask, okay, so let's just say...
what does the demographics look like?
But no, then if do you not want more Indians and Filipinos who send their best people?
I think India and the Philippines are perfectly functioning countries. And they need all of their engineers. Because to me, being an American isn't about making money. Being an American is about a unique experience. If the Philippines, or if India was going to be 52% European, I would think that was just as bad as if America was going to be 52% of all of these groups you list here. And it's not only that, but it's that the groups that are composing the largest growing demographic percentage, you will see are actually a net negative in terms of taxes.
You know when you got triggered?
What's that?
Do you know when you got triggered? You're going to go back and watch this because your guy's recording it, right? Graham is recording it. You know when you got triggered?
I believe I am having a civil discussion.
Oh, no. By the way, let me tell you, you're way more respectful than I thought you were going to be. And I'm actually enjoying the conversation.
Thank you.
So I'm not, if somebody asked me and said how you were, I'm not going to say he's an asshole. No.
Good.
Am I going to say he is, whatever the question? That's not the feeling I got. But I will say, the moment I said white first, your body energy changed. All of it.
Because I believe it's a mischaracterization of my view of the nation.
Then that's okay. Let the audience decide on what that is. But to me, I don't have any problem with people who have your position. Others can disagree with it and be like, okay, great. Yeah, he doesn't think a black person should be a president. No problem. He doesn't think a Middle Eastern should be president.
I think Americans are white, and white people should be president in America.
That's why I think you're white first.
And other countries can make those decisions.
You're right. But that's your position. Just stick to it. That's my position. You can say, I believe I'm white first, not America first. Those are two different distinctions.
But Americans are white.
Yeah,
and not all white people are American.
And you would never want a black American who's born here to be the president, and you would never want a Middle Eastern person who's born here to be president.
Being born here doesn't make you American.
Okay. So then you change what the founding fathers who wrote it. Then you can say they were fools.
Their immigration policy in the first naturalization
Okay, finally we're getting to the bottom of it. That, Rob, these founding fathers made a lot of mistakes with this Constitution.
I believe their immigration act was proper.
Yeah,
it was good.
Well, they just didn't know who was going to make more babies over the next 200 years.
Making more babies doesn't mean you get to have my country.
Yeah, but your country, the way it created a constitution, allowed for the people to come here because of the guidelines that they had.
The Constitution didn't outline immigration policy because that is under the realm of the legislative branch of government.
Right.
The issue began with the Immigration Act in 1965.
But the founders created the structure in a way that allowed the legislative or Congress
to make laws. Yes.
Yes.
That's fine.
That's on them then. Then that's the point where they create.
The founders messed up by making
based on your position, not mine. Based on what you think. I think what the founders built is ridiculous. I think what the paper, what they built is absolutely insane, and I am super grateful for the way they built it. This is why I believe I'm America first. I would have no problem with somebody who is, I'm not born here, right? So guess what? According to our Constitution, I can't run for office. I respect that.
Yes.
Totally get it.
Okay.
Makes sense to me because I wasn't born here according to the laws that they have. I get why they would do that. Because if somebody all of a sudden from the outside comes in and they want to take over and destroy this great nation, they would. That was the right way they thought.
This country was built with a context of naturalization that I believe.
Right.
You can point.
White first.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Then you find...
And every single European nation has practiced this policy for thousands of years.
Now we're talking, and this ends the conversation.
My opinions have been the same.
Now, I know they have been the same.
Yes.
This is just more messaging for you because it's confusing some of the people on the America First side because they're putting you as America First. So whatever the journalists are writing, they should change the verbiage instead of America First because it's more white first. That's all I'm saying.
They should understand what I believe America
I think they will. And by the way, I think, believe it or not, I think you've done a phenomenal job presenting your position of where you're at. Kudos to you. It's very obvious where you're at. And the audience now doesn't have any, questions to say, okay, maybe he's not fed. He's white first. Maybe he's not this. But maybe
if they don't have questions, or if they do, they know where to find me.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, fantastic. Well, Thomas, appreciate you for coming out. What I do respect more than anything else is an individual that's willing to come and answer the questions and is respectful about it. And you've been like that from the beginning to the end. And I value that a lot. It's one of those things we value a lot in our family. And I don't care whether you're white, black, Asian, or any of that stuff. I enjoy the conversation.
Thank you very much.
Anytime. Take care.
It's been a pleasure.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.